The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and that's Lisa Ackerman. We're so excited to have her here with us this morning. In fact, we're going to have her for the whole hour, end to end, because we never, and that's not going to be enough time, because we never have enough time to talk with her. I outsmarted myself a little bit because I was going to have two puppets during the little thing, but then I realized I needed a finger to unmute myself. So it's that kind of a day, Lisa. Yeah. So I want to start by saying, welcome you guys. So thrilled that you're here. And those of you who are here with us live, wonderful to have you. You can be writing in your comments right now on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our homepage at autism-live.com. If you need to watch this show later on, please know that there are a gazillion ways to watch it, not only on Facebook Live, but recorded, Facebook Live, but not live, right? YouTube Live, and then also podcasts. But you can watch this on iTunes. It's a free download. You can watch it with just sound, or you can listen to it with just sound, or watch it with sound and picture. And you can listen on Spotify, on Deezer, and on iHeartRadio. So, but you can all check out the whole thing, all the things. In fact, you can see every interview we've ever done with Lisa, and you can see every recipe that she's ever done on Autism Live. And you can see there's a whole series that she did called TACA Talk. So you can see all of those things on Autism Live's homepage, autism-live.com. I don't know if you know this, Lisa, but we're not now showing interstitial things as much while we're in this COVID thing and we're coming to you from individual homes. But we continue to show those recipes like nobody's business. And there's a whole playlist. In fact, there's two playlists that are just you on autism-live.com, which is pretty incredible.
Sorry.
I look like you. That's so funny. I say the same thing whenever people say, you know, oh, I watch you all the time. I go, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But in your case, it's a good thing. For people who don't know you, there are lots of words to describe you, but certainly, you know, the one, see, I'm gonna get emotional already. The one that comes to mind, because it's this week, is that you are an amazing mom. And that has driven a lot of the things that you have done in your life. You are the founder of an amazing organization, the largest parent organization in the autism realm. TACA, you're wearing the shirt there, which stands for the Autism Community in Action. But you do a lot of things, and you are a lot of things to a lot of people. So it's a big thrill to get you to be with us in the week of Mother's Day. Let's start with, how are you doing?
Well, one, if I ever need an ego boost, I'm going to just come hang out with you.
Please.
I feel the same way about you.
Oh, bless your heart.
So,
but I'm your biggest fan. I don't know if you realize or remember that. That may not be true. Your kids are probably, I'm right up there with your kids. So.
Well, my kids are something else, grandson too. So yeah, it's a lot of fun being a mom and a grandma.
That's right, your grandma too.
Yeah, we're doing okay. It's I refuse to call this the new normal. It's just this interim phase that we will get through together. You know, there's a lot of disruption, a lot of people suffering, and we're just trying to work through it and help people where they are today and get them down their path so they have healthy outcomes later.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, so much has happened in the last, I don't know how many weeks, 9, 10 weeks, but in the midst of all that, an event happened that happens, about every 2 years. And we usually have you on right afterwards because you're a resident expert on prevalence.
Yeah.
And the CDC came out and said new numbers, and we mentioned it briefly on the show, meant to have you on sooner, and a whole lot of poo hit the fan. So thrilled to have you here. We still need to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Nope.
So talk to us. Give us the skinny, because you're our expert on it.
Well, I got sick right afterwards, but it wasn't COVID, so that's why you didn't get me. Still got the cough, but it's something different. So the number is 1 in 54 that came out, and there's a cool little chart from the ADDM, and that's the Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network, or ADDM for short. All these cool little acronyms and names that we can have. TACA was established in 2000 as well as this group. Dr. Walter Hitomi out of Rutgers University is just one of my most favorite people in the whole world. And I keep telling my husband I may leave him for Walter. Please don't let that get out. Just kidding. He's an incredible researcher, and he's led the charge on this. And we're about 3% now of kids in the United States who have autism. It's worse in Jersey by far. But the chart that we have on the birth year, they talk about, it takes quite some time for the CDC and this group to look at the 11 sites, do the survey and analysis on 8-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And the last number for 8-year-olds came out 1 in 54. The 4-year-olds, the number, it's hard to justify that because we know many people don't get their kid diagnosed until they're in school. That number is not improving. In fact, that number, the learn the signs movement to get people diagnosed earlier is actually, the timelines increased, not decreased. So it's a 178% increase since 2000. It's a 10% increase in 2 years. And it's just too many kids. And with what's going on in our world, and I'm not going to complain, but I do think autism is important. It barely was a blip on the radar. I mean, here we are with the largest developmental disability, and it is a disability for about 95% of those living with autism, and that label that are diagnosed by professionals. So I'm deeply concerned, and we've got to get people to care. So any ideas, Shannon?
Right, like, and if I even thought about having an idea, I would run to you because you would have had the idea 10 years before. It's sometimes it takes my breath away. And I gotta say, you know, we have a viewer, a lovely viewer, Johanny, who wrote in and said, "Woohoo, Lisa Ackerman, ladies, I need to tell you, I'm getting really tired being mom, realtor, therapist, and first grade teacher help." So I, you know, and I wanted to say that because I was just about to say I get really tired sometimes, and I don't have a right to, because you know, moms like that are in the thick of it. You know, but it does feel like Mount Everest sometimes, right? And just when I think, gosh, you know, we're never going to get there, something will happen. And I'll go, oh, okay, that's an inroad. And I have to say that the example that I'm going to point to is somebody that you love and that I love, Kobe Bird.
Oh, I love Kobe.
Right?
My guy.
And was it last fall? I'm trying to think, because it seems like years.
October last year that he.
October, you do conferences every spring and every fall.
Yeah,
and you had your fall conference, and you had the foresight. You had asked him, like, I don't know, like 2 years before, to be the keynote speaker at your conference. And this is a crazy large conference, you guys. This is not some 35 people. This is, you know, what, 10,000 people. It was, or not. I don't know.
1,400. Let's not get crazy.
1,400. Okay. Like I get it exact. So 1,400 people in a ballroom. everybody buzzing, exciting. And this 17-year-old young man on the spectrum got up and spoke for how long, Lisa?
He spoke for over an hour, and I'm trying to find the picture of him and I couldn't be more proud of this kid. And I think the most interesting part of it, he was on The Good Doctor was 2 years ago. And it was so interesting because I retweeted that he was on The Good Doctor. And quite frankly, I lost sight of this tall, mostly man child. I knew him when he was a lot younger and met him, I think, in 2006 at the TACA family picnic. And I was just laughing that he shared that after I retweeted him that TACA changed his life.
Yes.
And I was blown away, and then I had to get reacquainted with Rachel. And then I'm like, oh my God, of course.
That's his mom, and his mom is incredible. One of my best friends. And she says that, you know, you changed their lives because she went to that TACA picnic and that it was everything to her.
Yeah. And I'm so blown away by his transformation and just getting comfortable in his own skin. And my son Jeff had a very similar response to theater. You know, if you gave him a script, he'd kill it every day.
Mm-hmm.
He would be just having the best time. I'm multitasking, and I know you probably love that I'm doing that.
No. I'm the same way because it's a great picture. I know it's a great picture.
I want that picture. But of course now I'm lame as Captain Lame Sauce. But I
love you so much.
For an hour, and I had people come up to me and say that was perhaps one of their most favorite presentations because he was so real. He talked about being bullied. He talked about his struggles. He talked about how his mom helped him overcome things and lifted him up when he was down. And then he turned it around and lifted his mom up on days, and just really it was so touching and so sweet and so honest. And
yes,
he's just the epitome of a real sweetheart. Someone
who
really just became a really amazing human and
sharing
his story. So I'm so proud of him.
And I'm proud of you because you're a part of his story, Lisa, and made it possible for him and his family to do, you know, to get the help that they needed, which was an important step on their way to him now being someone who has the microphone. You know, he is, you know, killing it over on Lock and Key on Netflix, which if you guys haven't watched, you need to watch.
Oh my God, it's so amazing.
But he does red carpets and he's speaking, and there he was on your stage. And I was so proud of you because I got to say, Lisa, I don't know very many people who like walk their talk like you do. You were like, no, I'm going to give the stage to a young man, not even an adult, like close. He's turning 18 this month, but he was 17 then.
Yeah.
And for you to be like, you know, yes, he's going to get the stage for an hour. And I was like, now that takes some guts on his part and on your part. And man, did it pay off in spades because we were riveted. I was in the audience. We were riveted the entire time, that whole audience, standing ovation. And everybody was sobbing, tears of joy. And I don't know, that's what gives me hope that we are going to get there. Because of people like you and people like him. We're going to, and now there's a whole host of people that are paying attention that weren't before, because there's, you know, they're seeing our young people. It's, I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you. I know, because it was great. It was great what you did. Your conferences are always amazing. And I just want to say to people that, you know, you need to get to their conferences. And I know that you're going to be doing conferences again, and whether you do them online or whatever for a period of time, people need to go. You will get your batteries refreshed, plus you'll learn a whole bunch.
Yeah.
It takes me months to process the things.
Well, I mean, I think I attribute this quote to Magic Johnson. I really hope he said it, but if you get the right help and you have the hope, you can be anything. And Kobe's a testament to that. And his mom worked really hard. He worked harder than he needed to, but he did. And he still credits being gluten-free, casein-free, and having the medical support and the homeschooling and the individualized therapy that helped him overcome a lot of obstacles. And it was just so sweet because he's like, these are the things I'm still working on.
Yep.
And these are the things that I want to do with my life. And I love acting. And just to see him be so excited. And when Netflix released Lock and Key, you know, I was the first in line to watch the whole thing. And we binged it at our house and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, and there he was.
I know, working,
Right.
just working and being amazing. I gotta say too, because I guess this is the first time I've had you on since then, which seems crazy. It was great to hear him speak. He's an amazing speaker. But I'll tell you what I loved as much was that afterwards you got up on stage and led him in a series of questions, which was really wonderful. And then because you're brilliant, you got his mom up on stage. And, you know, I happen to know that
Rachel was thrilled with me because I gave her like a 2-minute notice. I'm like,
well, and I was sitting next to her and I think that she was like, what? But then she got up there and I was so glad because I happen to know her as being like a brilliant person and a brilliant mom. And I was so glad that you did that. For so many reasons, but I loved that people got to hear where she was coming from, which I think is remarkable. So you're brilliant. And thank you for giving everybody that opportunity. Cause I think it was good for all of us. So I could just wax poetic about you forever, but let's talk a little bit about TACA. I imagine that there are people that are watching that don't know that much about TACA and they should. And they should know why it helped Kobe and why it helped me and why it helped my kid and why it helped his mom. Talk to us.
It's our 20th anniversary this year. We had a whole 20th anniversary thing we were going to do, but COVID kind of threw that out the window for a little bit. Our goal is to provide education, support, and hope to families living with autism. So we serve over 72,000. We're adding on average 600 new people every month. Our vision for people living with autism is like what with Kobe and what my son's doing, for every individual diagnosed with autism to lead an independent and fantastic life. I always add that in. So we're in 32 states now, all 50 virtually, of course, but physically we have an army of almost 2,000 volunteers that are just the most caring, awesome humans on the planet. They lift you up, they kick you on the bottom when you need it, and they tell you what you can do to help make a difference in your kid's life today. And I'm honored to stand with them every day. They're the best people I know.
I gotta say, anytime I go anywhere that's autism related, I always look for where is the TACA group. You can always recognize them, even if they weren't all wearing t-shirts that said TACA, because they're the people having the most fun, right? And they're the people who look like they're the most comfortable in their skin because they know where they are, they know who they are, they know who they're with. And, I love the whole tribe mentality part of autism. And if you feel like you're missing out on it, you need to join yourself to TACA, where you can feel the love and feel the community and lean into a safety net that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you. And I think the thing that the reason why you see those ladies and gentlemen just lifted up and smiling and purposeful, they're hopeful. They have tools and they want to share that information. They're all about pay it forward, turn around, help the family next to you, and make sure you make a difference not only in your own life, but in the person in your community that needs you too.
Yeah.
So and that's why it's energy, energy begets energy. And when you have that energy in the room, it's really unstoppable.
Yeah. And you guys have done so many things over the years. You really looked at what the community needed and presented. It's a body of work, Lisa. I mean, 20 years, you got to be, you're not done. I know you're not done, but you've already left a legacy that is large. Even if I just look at your journey guides, I know that's not what you call them. What do you call them?
They're journey guides.
Journey
You
guides.
hit the nail
Okay.
on the head. You did good.
And
there, I could go grab it.
well, describe for people, because there might be people that don't know about them and haven't taken the time to make sure that they can get one.
Yeah, we have Autism Journey Guide, and it's over a 200-page tool, and it's everything you need to know right at the start of your journey, or at the beginning, middle, or halfway through, whatever. But it's everything that you should know about, the diagnostic criteria, where your kid fits in that, the learning tools, the dietary intervention. Food is medicine, 100% food is medicine. The medical pieces. If I could just pause on the medical for just a moment, there's 50 abstracts on average coming out each week prior to COVID. I don't know what it is now. I haven't been able to look at the science piece, but new treatments, new exciting things that are changing the world and the direction, and the coexisting medical issues. And I hate to geek on it for a moment, but the average number the average number of diagnoses per kid with autism is 5. And a lot of those diagnoses, like for my guy, gastrointestinal, which is ileitis, mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic conditions, sleep disorders, just a myriad of issues, and cerebral folate autoimmunity. So, that was before I got to the auditory processing, apraxia, and just reading comprehension disorder, which is a real thing. So he had 8 that I can recall right now. A lot of them are in the history books, which is great. So I know with treatments and what have you, things can get better. And then there's, going back to the guides, I can circle back. There's also the legal aspects, so you can understand the rights law with regards to, school. And then, of course, when becoming an adult, what you can do to help protect your child that may need your help, and then support. So it's really just a great tool. We're grateful to the American Legion Foundation. They print our guides for us every year. And last year we gave out close to 5,000 of them. So you get them free at our events or $5 on our website.
There you go. So let's talk about your website, because I got to say, I made a decision many years ago that I was going to host shows and interview people and do all that so that people could find this information. But, I've been hosting shows about autism for over 10 years. I'm never going to scratch the surface of the information that is on the TACA website. And I am humbled by that. And I want you to know that I refer people all the time and say, if you want it, like, the place that has the most information is the TACA website. I don't know how you do that, but it's a thing of beauty. How do we get there?
It's not one person anymore. There's 20 people that are at TACA that work, and then there's 2,000 volunteers. So it's a constant effort. And this year we're doing a complete refresh to everything on the website. And we've gone through about 40 articles, and they've been completely redone. So like sleep has been updated. Gastrointestinal issues have been updated. All of the learning tools, and then the newly added COVID homeschooling tips and tricks. So like, for example, the reading comprehension. If you're concerned about reading comprehension, there's a whole how-to section plus books and introduce reading comprehension. So the kid who was in the 0 percentile, I think we first tested him for reading comprehension in 2nd grade. It was 0 percentile. And then 3rd grade, 1%, 4th grade, 1%. So, it didn't change and get into double digits until he was in high school. Wow. It was still at 11%. This kid just finished his junior year college finals with an A average, and can write 20-page papers and take tests that make me cry. Like, he doesn't ask me for help with his homework, because he knows all I can do is cook dinner and provide humor. I'm not going to assist him in any way, stretch of the imagination, with any help on his homework. I usually just walk over and go, oh, that sucks. Good luck, and walk away. He had to take world religion. And he was telling me about Taoism. I'm like, okay. What do you like about Taoism? And he was able to go and tell me all about Taoism.
Wow.
Is that like
Pretty
Hinduism? Cool. And he's like, no.
Wow.
Sorry, no disrespect to anyone watching, but the point being is he educates me every day.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So where is the website? And then I'm going to go over some of the comments people are writing.
TACAnow.org, TACA now.org. If you can read backwards. Yeah, I should always fix that, but yeah, I'm not smart. So TACAnow.org, and there's different sections, the medical section, the diet section, there's a newly diagnosed section, there's a learning, a resource section, and pretty much it's grouped by the categories you're going to look. And the good old search bar is a great place to start if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you could spend, the rest of this isolation just reading what's on that website to get from end to end. And it'd be worth it. You'd learn a lot. So check it out. It's free, like instead of just keeping going, looking all over the internet, trying to find answers, we just gave you the shortcut. There you go. There's the wormhole. TACAnow.org. So somebody says, Lisa, I've tried connecting with your local group in Pennsylvania, but it's over an hour away. Yeah. What are the chances more will pop up? So maybe there might be something closer.
Yeah, I would love to put a chapter by every Starbucks, but it dictates on having the right amount of volunteers per geography. And so what I would suggest, we're not building new chapters during COVID, but I would start the process and become a mentor. If you become a mentor, then get 3 other volunteers to work with you, then come to us and say you're considering doing a new chapter. But right now there's a lot of virtual things. We're doing 2 chapter meetings a month virtually. The next one coming up is social skills. So she doesn't need to drive an hour. She can just turn on her computer and learn about social skills. So we're doing 2 virtual chapter meetings every month. The last one was on nonverbal, preverbal children. One before that was presuming competence. So there's just a lot of great tools, but the next one is teaching social skills, and it's a great session.
Where will they find the way into that?
If you go to the TACA website, there's going to be TACAnow.org, find a meeting. Find the meeting, there's got the virtual meeting box, and it's social skills, and you can click on that and it will connect you. The nice part is it will connect you to your local chapter. So when we start kicking off post-COVID, it will connect you to the place you can go. And the other thing I would encourage any family that is a half hour, an hour drive, is it's worth it. If it's once a month, you're going to get together. Don't be afraid of your car. Dive in your car. Shannon, you've even come to meetings. So
I have, and they're wonderful.
Come on now. So, and just take the time, carve it out, make it a thing, grab a couple of people, throw them in your car and get there. You'll be happy you did.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Okay, we have another person who says hello from Scranton. The Pennsylvania contingent is strong today.
Yeah.
Hello from Koyanfig. And Christina is saying good morning to both of us. April, hello from Dubai. I have a nonverbal 17-year-old boy. Do we she says I have a okay, let me try again. Retool, right? I have a nonverbal 17-year-old, and boy, do we still have a long way to go. But I quote you all the time, Lisa. I did it yesterday, that I always say to people, as my friend Lisa Ackerman from TACA says, when somebody says autism, it's not game over, it's
game on.
That's right.
Game on. And for that 17-year-old, I would tell you the oldest person that went from 0 talking that I'm aware of at TACA is 27.
There we go.
0 words to talking. And basically, it's always unique to the individual. I'm not saying there's a map that works 100% of the time, 100% in the same way for every person. But in the case of this adult with autism, there were seizures, mitochondrial issues, and cerebral folate deficiency. All of them standard labs that were done, and the individual received therapies that made such a huge difference. And the one thing that just drives me bonkers, I mean, there's like 87,000 things that drive me bonkers, but for the people living with autism that are pre-verbal at any age, often their doctor did not order a 24-hour EEG. A 20-minute one at age 2.5 or 4 or whatever is not appropriate. In fact, my son has had 2 EEGs, both clean. I would recommend 3 EEGs minimum at time of diagnosis, first brain pruning, ages 6 to 8, at puberty, and one for good measure if you want in their 20s. We'll probably do another one just to make sure. Abnormal brain waves and epilepsy are so extremely common. And for our pre-verbal kiddos, that is perhaps one of the most overlooked areas. And that's just something we can do that will make a big difference.
Well, I so appreciate that. And I have to be honest with you and tell you that there are several things that you have told me over and over and over again. And I go, and then I don't necessarily listen. And then I find out that you were always right. Yes, I know. Listen, I remember being at a conference with you and you were like, Shannon, you're allergic to milk. And I was like, no, I'm really not, Lisa. I'm not. And then, 6 months later, I found out I was allergic to milk. And you were like, and I was like, and even if I was allergic to milk, there wouldn't be things that I could eat. My child is on a diet, a casein-free diet, but I can't do it. And you were like, yes, you can. And I was like, I can't live without yogurt. And you were, and I was like, no, I can't do that. And Lisa was right. Lisa's always right.
But thank you.
and I, with another good friend, I have heard you talk about the EEG thing before. Mm-hmm. The problem that I had was that I couldn't get his doctors to agree to it. Now tell me, what is the secret? Because I have seen with the friend that knock on wood, it didn't end up that thus far, mm-hmm. we have not seen anything where we would have been like, oh, we should have had that before. Yeah. But the friend, it has not been the case. And almost to the point of life and death, wishing that they had that. So what do we say to parents when because I did ask and the doctor was like, oh, it's so unnecessary. There's no need, he's not showing any signs of that. There's no need to order it. And so I didn't push. Yeah. Whack. Yeah. I know.
That's where your local chapter really comes handy.
Okay.
So if I were stuck and I was like, let's say in Miami, Florida, Gloria and Catherine, they're the most amazing. I mean, they're all amazing, but love these girls. I would click on find a chapter, click on email, and say, hey, I need to find a neurologist that doesn't suck in your area. They would connect you then to somebody that actually cares and follows the American Academy of Pediatric Standards of Care for Autism to help you define. In fact, there's a place, Rossignol Medical Center, that's just 1 hour north of that area that has ambulatory EEGs covered by insurance. You basically go in there. They have literally put the cap on thousands and thousands of kids and adults. They put it on, you wear it for 24 hours, and then the next morning you take it off. And it is unbelievably easy. You don't have to go in hospital. And what a great time to do it now. They're open now. So wow. You basically can get an EEG to go.
All right. So, I love that. Listen to Lisa, not me.
Yeah, but so what I would do is if there's international resources. So if you go for the lady in Dubai with the 17-year-old, she can type up there international at the search bar, find resources that are in that geography. And there are some good functional medicine doctors that actually care, follow the standards of care, and look above and beyond the standards of care to figure out what's going on with that individual.
And, as much as this period of time is not what anybody would choose, there have been some, things that have happened that are good. And right now, telehealth in the United States, they've relaxed everything. So even if there's a doctor that you've been just wanting to get together, but they're in Florida and you're not, right? You can do telehealth right now and get a lot done.
Well, like I said, Dr. Rosenall in his office, he's got 5 doctors from all over the country is doing telehealth. Scourin is doing telehealth. I mean, these are all people that had a 6-month wait list, and for whatever reason now you can get in sooner than later and do telemedicine. Highly recommend it. And the paperwork, it does take a little bit of time, but get it in there, give them the tools and the history so they can be the best help to your family and to that individual living with autism.
There you go. Now, somebody else says, I need TACA help very much. And they were asking, where is the Pennsylvania meeting? I spend all day and night on TACA, but maps and labs are so expensive.
So
can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's definitely. We have, well, let's be clear. Not one meeting is happening right now in communities. We can't, based on COVID. And kids with autism, most of them are immunocompromised. If it's not the kid, it's the family. So the meetings are not happening right now, but we have our virtual meetings. So to answer specifically that question, I would go to find a meeting, click on the virtual meeting and attend all of those meetings right now. There's 2 a month. You can do it your leisure. You log in, you get a code, you watch and participate, you get your questions answered. Now, for labs and what have you and medical appointments, what I would recommend is there's a document on the website, how to prepare for your doctor's appointment, and also how to do autism on a budget. Those 2 things are up and available. So most of the labs that Scourin and Rossignol and Usman and all of these different really great clinicians are recommending through Quest and LabCorp. So if you have insurance, it's going to cover most of your labs with just whatever your deductible is. What I would suggest, and where I see families fall apart a little bit, is they use their functional medicine doctor sometimes as a marriage and family therapist. And I'm totally guilty of that. I have done that. I really recommend that you get your game plan on with your spouse, significant other the night before. You go in with your hit list. You have 20 seconds of niceties, compliment the shoes and the hair, and then move on. And then get through your list with precision, not like a military function, but close, where you get in and get out. If you do it right, you will spend 2 hours a year with your physician. If you have a more complex kid, it may take 3 hours. But I've seen families that are spending 10, 15 hours with their physician, and that's because the organization can be tightened up. The marriage and family therapy can be done cheaper somewhere else. And just go in ready to go, ready to have your mission resolved. So I would really recommend, instead of birthday gifts, more plastic and crap, ask for your family to donate to your child's medical fund. And I'm from a big family for years. We were able to have everyone donate to the 2 visits we were doing and a couple of emails that for follow-up. And it made the biggest difference in his life. And you could waste a lot of time with someone who's not reading the latest research or not following the standards of care from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Sorry.
No, what are you sorry for? That's all.
Well, I could go on for an hour on that one. And again, I'm saying I've made every one of these mistakes.
Yeah, but I'm old enough to remember when your phone in your home, if you had to dial long distance, you got charged by the minute.
Yeah.
And so if you made a long distance phone call, you only covered what you had to cover and you got off the phone.
Yeah.
Or you got this ginormous bill. You need to think of these doctors that are expensive the exact same way. So, you're paying by the minute.
Yeah. And I think the one area that in the how to prepare for your medical appointment, I always try to remind people, what are the 5 things you're trying to address right now? And tell me about the things, or to the doctor, not me, but tell us about the things that have worked for your kid and the things that sucked, that didn't do anything, that had a negative effect. If you give them the full medical history and your issues you want to address and those things that worked and did not work, that gives them a much better toolkit for understanding what exactly to do for your kid. And it makes such a big difference.
There's also the TACA mentors that if you
Correct.
use your TACA mentor properly, that's going to help you and cut down on costs, because you're not going to be calling the doctor every 5 seconds to ask them something that a mentor could answer for you.
So the virtual, again, I'm talking COVID time right now. So with the meetings on pause, go to the virtual meetings, get a free TACA mentor, join our Hope and Help group. It's a Facebook group. It's a private community. We're going to provide a link to that in the notes, which there's 11,000 people plus on that community right now. And they're asking anywhere from 10 to 30 questions a day that are universal, that can help so many people. And so if you're afraid to ask a question, just watch the questions coming through, search the, comments and the different topics from previous posts. And it's so incredibly helpful. We also have a helpline here when people call here, or you can email us support@tacanow.org. And there are multiple ways to get your question answered: mentor, Hope and Help, support.
And I gotta say, you have to get over the idea that you're supposed to be able to afford this all by yourself.
Yeah.
You have to let go of that, and that you can do this all by yourself, right? I don't know a single person. I love that years ago, Holly Robinson Peete wrote a blog and said, here are the 8 things that people should know about autism. Number 1, no one can afford it. No one. And she knows Oprah. So if she, says no one can afford it, then no one can afford it. Yeah. So, I certainly had to get help and had a fundraiser, and then had a friend do a fundraiser. Yeah. And, there are grants. There are ways. Ask other TACA members, how did you pay for this? And you'll hear a wide variety of things, and you can go, okay, well then I can do this, I can do that. All right, we have a bunch of questions, but I want to make, what's that?
We have several moms. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you go.
I want to do a shout out. So many different single moms that give food stamps that are doing all the stuff that I'm describing. They don't have a no that they're going to listen to. They are going to drive a solution, and I am floored and honored every day to see them. They find a way. And if you are lost and don't know what to, let us help you find that way.
Absolutely. Now I have a bunch of questions that I want to get to, as many of them as I can, but I also want to make sure that we cover, because you had a list of things that we were going to cover. We talked about one. What else is on our list while I'm getting these questions?
So we talked about the numbers. Blah.
So
we have webinars that are held at a specific date and time. And the next one that's coming up on May 7th is on anxiety. And it's all the tips and tricks. And we have multiples that are coming up following that. And those are at least 2 to 3 times a month. We have our Facebook Lives like you. And on the view side, there's quite a few. So that we've done occupational therapy, adaptive PE, music therapy, managing your IEP during COVID. All of these videos are still available, and I think over 70,000 have clicked or viewed or something along those lines. But you can go and look at those, and we're going to be doing another one coming up on behaviors and routines, managing difficult behaviors and routines during COVID. So the virtual chapter meetings are twice a month. We set up a topic for 2 weeks, and you can log in anytime in your pajamas or yoga pants. That's really funny. Before COVID, I didn't have any yoga pants. I've solved that problem. I now have 3. So there's the virtual meetings. Then there's the support questions. So the support email, phone, but more importantly, the Hope and Help group, which I can't stress enough, especially if you're someone who doesn't like to put yourself out there and ask a lot of questions. You want to learn from other people. It's the greatest group and the most giving folks. And got a lot of tools there to support you, managed by some great folks.
And we're going to be putting the links to those in the chats on the different sites. So be looking for that.
We have a
yes.
COVID toolkit, a homeschooling toolkit, and there's even how to get your kid to wear a mask in public, social story, visuals, etc. So, I mean, everything that you want to know about COVID, but we're afraid to ask, and it's being updated regularly. So if you saw it when we launched it on March 13th, it's been significantly updated and read thousands of times since. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, are you kidding me? This is all so good. But I'm going to venture back to the questions.
Yes.
For the reading comprehension, do you think it's ever too late to start?
No, it's never too late.
Right? She says he uses Proloquo to go to request. Unfortunately, insurance covers nothing here, and it's just expensive to do anything extra.
Well, what I would do is there is a great nonverbal toolkit, pre-verbal. I like to say pre-verbal toolkit because I'm very hopeful on the website. So if you just type in verbal at the search, it's in the learning toolkit, but it will give you all of the things you can be doing at home that doesn't cost money and what have you. So reading comprehension, what I did is I went out and bought books. Back in the day, Jeff was really hip to Blue's Clues. In fact, if there was a Blue's Clues Anonymous, he probably would have had to go to it. He had every notebook and paw print. And anyway, so point being is, I don't mean to make light, but that's the way we do it here at TACA Land. We were able to buy those books, learn through teaching at home and with our ABA team to really break down the instruction. It was, what color is the dog? That's starting reading comprehension. What's the book about? What's the title of the book? And be prepared to, I'm going to ask you questions about the book. And it's a whole how-to, again, self-directed. In fact, that article I think I wrote, God, 150 years ago, feels like now, but you can do those two things. And so for that mom, I would go and look up the verbal toolkit, which is all free, and type in comprehension as the second search to find the toolkit, and just presume competence and move forward. And if it's not working, find a different way. Don't try the same thing over and over. Try to find the motivation for your kid and try to find a different way about approaching it. Speaking louder doesn't always necessarily get that point across, and I'm again guilty of that.
Been there, done that.
Sorry.
Somebody wrote in and said, I still can't live without gluten and dairy. I feel you, Shannon, LOL. I need to do it too, and I'm frozen in the headlights. I just want to say to you that, I've been gluten-free for decades because I have a wheat allergy, but I am now dairy-free for, 6 years now. It's such a bummer. It's such I miss my yogurt. I miss my cold and creamy. I also, because because you said to me, I'm allergic, I went and I got the test, and I was pretty sure it was going to come back. But the thing that really, this is how the conversation went. They called me and they were like, we need to talk to you about several things that you're allergic to. I was like, yeah, okay. And they went, well, first of all, you're allergic to beef and pork. And I went, okay, doesn't matter. I don't eat beef or pork. And they went, oh, okay. Well, a lot of times people are hysterical when they hear that. And I said, no. And they said, well, you're allergic to milk. And I was like, oh, okay. Lisa's right. And then she said the horrible thing. And she goes, oh, and you are allergic to bananas and need to stop eating bananas right away. And I went, no, not my bananas. And she went, boy, this conversation did not go how I thought it was going to go. Right?
I was so happy. My allergy panel came back. I was allergic to kale. Score!
Oh my goodness. How do you get that? I want that. But everything.
No kale. To your advantage.
No kale for Lisa. Poor thing, you. I love all vegetables, but kale is a little bit on the fence there.
Yeah.
But if you go to the TACA site and go to the diet section, you can find all the different ways that you can be gluten-free and dairy-free. And I have to tell you, On our website, Lisa hosted recipes for us. We called it What's Left. And she makes some of the best things in the world. You won't want the dairy and the gluten. You won't even notice that you're missing them. And there's everything. There's, you want to make a main dish, you want to make a side dish, you want to make a dessert, because she's an amazing good cook. And your child was gluten-free, dairy-free, and so Jeff would you tell it, but Jeff would say, "I want you to make X, Y, or Z," right?
Yeah, the son of a biscuit watching TV. He saw a major pizza company advertise a calzone, and he looked at me and he's like, "I want that." I'm like, "Son of a!" But I made it. We call it a pizzone. So that's also on there. And basically, my son would come to me and say, "Look, I really want to try that," or whatever that is. And we would find a way to reverse engineer it from Betty Crocker to whatever. But point being is, I know personally, I used to get sick 7 to 8 times a year. I was at least 25 pounds heavier. And I had trouble sleeping. I was going to the doctor more often, taking antibiotics more often. Doesn't mean my health is perfect today, but I have less chronic health issues. I like to say I'm a lot lighter in my step now than I was. So I feel like it's just been a healthier adjustment. And both my husband and I say on a regular basis, Jeff probably saved our health as well.
There you go. I want to give a shout out to the person who wrote to us from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. They want us to know that they are Japanese, and that the person says, "I am autism," and says, "Sorry, my English is not what I would like," but they like this live show, and so we're so thrilled that you are here. Yay! Somebody wrote it in and said that they have a 2-year-old and 10 months who's on the autism spectrum. And he lines up whatever he can get a hold of and keeps watching it, but not when he is stressed. What kind of sensory input is he seeking from it?
Whenever I see kids lining up, they're just trying to organize their world and do something that they can have control over. And often any type of repetitive movement or repetitive gesture like that, I want to find out what's going on, both medically and then employing some applied behavioral analysis, ABA. We want to find ways to show, play, give appropriate tools, and take that to a constructive place so they can learn and have observational learning and what have you. So I think for a kid who's lining up, I also want to look to co-infections like yeast, stress. There's a lot of different things. And again, it's not every kid, everything the same way, but I know that when my kid got more vocally stimmy and OCD, compulsive on a cupboard being open and shut 3 times before he walked by it, going the same way home from school, things like that. Almost always there was something of an overgrowth that could be easily tested and treated. The applied behavioral analysis just helped teach the skills that, kids want to learn. And once they learn it, then they can acquire these other things that they're going to need for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know, are teachers welcome in TACA? This individual teaches K through 3 with students with autism.
Absolutely.
So come on down. They want you.
We love it. In fact, teachers who want to come and hang out with us, we love it. We worship our we surely miss our teachers right now.
Don't we? Hasn't everybody realized how much they should be being paid right now?
Well, there's that one meme. You lied. My kid is not a delight to have in school. That was my favorite.
I love it. Our guest from yesterday, Maya, wants to know, actually that might be a different Maya, I'm not sure. They want to know, they say, I know that there are people on the spectrum who can't wear a mask due to the itchiness.
Yes.
but there are different masks, right?
Yeah, there's a whole set. Again, there are masks that the CDC recommends that will protect you, and then there's the mask that will allow you to walk in a store. I found, again, the N95, I'm not the CDC, but the N95s are the ones that give you the most protection from viruses and bacteria. The other masks that are out there that allow you to get in the store mostly protect other people from you, not people to you. So I'm a big fan, and people laugh at me. We have a friend who made a bathing suit company, Productive, and they've made bathing suit company masks. And I find this one is less irritating, but again, it's not going to protect you from viruses and bacteria. But it's easier for kids on the autism spectrum to walk in and do things. And you can put an extra layer of protection in there, but we have a whole, on the TACA Facebook page, social story on how to wear a mask, why to wear a mask, what's going on with the mask. But this just seemed so much easier to tolerate because it's a nylon material and washable.
There we go. Somebody wants to know, why is it important to do the EEG at puberty if there hasn't been any signs of seizures? My son hasn't ever had one because doctors have told me not needed, which I think most doctors are going to tell us not needed. Now, Lisa's going to break out into hives, and not from a mask or kale. Okay, so the brain goes through a lot of changes over time. And just because, let's say you did one 24-hour EEG at the time of diagnosis, like 4 or 5 years of age, the brain goes through a major change at the first brain pruning, typically ages 6 to 8. Again, not a neurologist. And then another major change at puberty. So there are people that have had two clean EEGs, and that just means at that point in time, we did not capture any abnormal brainwave activity or epilepsy. But often what we have found is seizures almost always seem to be right around puberty and continue on into their 20s. So if, hypothetically speaking, you had 2 24-hour EEGs early on, you want to do another one at puberty. And the reason, and again, I'm not here to scare you, I'm just going to share, there are reasons why we do EEGs on kids with autism, because they are more susceptible to things like SUDEP, and that's sudden unexplained death from epilepsy. We do not want that to happen. And what I have found from a hopeful way is often when we find and see abnormal brainwaves or epilepsy in an EEG and we treat it, we see kids take off academically, verbally, cognitively. So there's 2 reasons why you really, really should do it. One, you may see an improvement in everything to do with your kids' autism, learning disabilities, language, etc. 1. 2, you protect them from any issues that can happen. And again, I don't know why. The science doesn't explain why kids with autism who have epilepsy or abnormal brainwaves, why they're 6 times more likely to die from a seizure than a kid just with epilepsy. So I don't know why. I just want to fix and I want to address. So those are the 2 reasons why you want to do it. And I just got to say, the friend that, did not take your advice with me, and, their child had the first seizure at about 16 years old. And it was a very scary thing. But then 6 months later had the seizure where they stopped breathing. And because the first seizure happened, they were more aware, and the doctors were more aware, although they, I will tell you, with the first seizure, a lot of times they're like, well, we'll wait and see if there's another one. So fortunately, this person now is on medication and is doing so much better than they were before. But I know that mom is like, maybe this is why we didn't, get like there were things that we just kept hitting a wall and why we couldn't get past them. And there's a lot of regret.
Well, I would tell that mom, your woulda, coulda, shoulda just doesn't count. It's today.
No.
Make a difference today.
But I will say for people today, like this is why you should listen to Lisa. Because Lisa's smart and Lisa knows what she's talking about.
I would love to be wrong on this topic.
I know.
Love to be the wrongest of wrong. I would love for children with autism or adults to never experience seizures. But I mean, abnormal brain waves are probably over 70% right now. It depends on what study you want to look at. And if we can normalize that, learning happens, conversations happen, healing happens, therapies that you're putting in your kid and every day doing start to make more progress. So please.
Yeah. Get the EEG. Okay, we're totally out of time. I told you we were not going to have enough time, and I meant it, and it was.
How did that happen?
I know, an hour just swung by, and I just can't thank you enough, Lisa, for all the work that you do, and for being just an awesome example of a person who cares and a mom who cares, and what you've been able to do for our community is just breathtaking. I hope you have the best Mother's Day. I know that it is not what it would have been if we weren't in this current isolation situation, but I hope that is still the most wonderful. You deserve it. You're part of our salute to moms this week. You're amazing. Again, go to tacanow.org to be hooked up with all of the things that Lisa was talking about. It's there. Become a member. Sign up and become a member of TACA so that you get all the benefits of that and learn everything that you can, but be a part of that tribe. You'll never, ever be sorry. Lisa, thank you. Give our love to everybody there, okay?
And happy Mama's Day to you, Shannon. You're awesome. Yeah. Adore you.
I adore
Mama's
you.
Day to everyone out there.
Yes.
Whatever you're dealing with, this too shall pass. So hang tight.
That's right.
Hang tight.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampiche will be here. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now, you guys.
Bye.
The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Hello to whoever can hear me. I am excited that you are here with us. We are having massive technical difficulties, so we've had to reroute everything that we do. We do have Dr. Doreen Grampiche, and I don't know if you can hear her through my computer, but I'm going to try to share my screen here and see if we can get you. I believe that when we're looking at a lot of different things here. I'm going to full screen you here and let's see if people can hear us and write in and tell us if you cannot hear us. But I'm going to assume, Dr. Grampiche, that we are up and live and that they can hear you. And if you can't, it's not for lack of trying, and let us know and Traven will let me know. So good morning. Can you hear me, Doreen? And I can hear you. So, and this is my worst nightmare. Like, I don't like But the nightmare that I have is that I have you and that I want to go live and that I have a computer and I can't, and that I have to push the buttons to make it happen. That's my worst nightmare. Right. Yes. Such fun. So I don't know what Traven is currently up to right now, but we're going to assume that we are live. And welcome everybody. I just want to tell you that Traven is attempting to get us live on Facebook and on YouTube and on Periscope and Twitter at the moment. Be patient with us, be gentle with us, but we are here. We care about you. There's Traven. I'm going to keep Traven in my ear over here. Traven, are we at least live on things and I can go ahead and go? And are they able to hear Doreen? He says we are live on things. This is very exciting. And yes, so I'm going to, Traven, is it okay to go ahead and ask questions? Yes, I am full screen on Dr. Doreen, but I see that I've got many little windows. But that's okay. We only want to see you. It's not important to see me. Apparently they're only seeing you in a very small box, but they can hear her. We're just going to go on. All right. Okay. I'm just going to start asking questions and we'll try to figure it out as we go. But I'm going to hang up on you, Traven. Okay. It is what it is. So Dr. Grandpichet, who is brilliant and a genius, and I said it, and it's true, is going to answer your questions, and you may only see her a very little bit. But Dr. Doreen, what do you recommend when a child gets stuck? My son made great progress for 2 years with ABA, and then we plateaued. He is still making progress, but he used to fly through lessons, and now we seem to be languishing in the same spot for a long time. Is there something I'm missing? Is this normal? He's 5. We still do almost 30 hours, and I feel my window closing. All advice is appreciated. And while you answer, I'm going to try to make your picture bigger. Go for it.
Is not good, and you need to do a lot of different things to figure out why there is a plateau. So I'll talk a little bit about some of those things that you can try. Behaviorally, you will need to look at the program and make sure the usual stuff is in place. That means, are there enough reinforcers in place? Are there meaningful reinforcers? Because don't forget that kids, their reinforcers change over time. So something that could be rewarding one day is not necessarily rewarding another day. So make sure that those reinforcers are in place. And then aside from that, you want to make sure the instructions are clear. You want to make sure the therapists or individuals working with your child are pretty consistent with each other, so that there isn't confusion. Sometimes there's a lot of confusion between, let's say, people who work with the child at home and people who work with the child at school or things like that. So make sure those things are consistent. Instructions have to be clear, rewards have to be in place, all that. So all the behavioral contingencies have to be in place so that you're assured that you're doing a good program. You also need to make sure that you are not trying to teach things that have prerequisite skills that have not yet been taught. So in other words, if I'm trying to teach, let's say, full sentences using descriptors and past tense, I want to make sure that I have first taught the descriptors separately and the past tense separately, and all the various prerequisite skills are present, so that I can now put them together in a more complex lesson. So that's all the behavioral stuff. But I think what's just as important, and maybe even more at this point, is to look at other factors that might be influencing your child's learning. And these are lots of different things. So is your child sleeping well? You want to make sure that they are sleeping well. Has their diet changed? Any kind of dietary change could reduce or increase attention. So you want to make sure that those types of things are dealt with or considered. Is there any kind of medical issue going on? For example, sometimes our kids start to develop subclinical seizures and we're not really aware, because these are seizures that can't really be seen, but yet they're happening. So it would be very important to have an EEG done, at least an electroencephalogram, to see if your child is having seizures. Seizures will plateau things, and they will also delay, some children even lose skills with seizures. So that's important. Of course, dietary factors, as I mentioned, are very important, because sometimes if we're eating things that are that we're not able to digest, I don't want to call it that we're allergic to, but if we're not able to break down certain proteins, then that could lead to kind of fogginess, so that the child is not able to pay attention because they're just not focused enough. It could also be possible that the child is developing some attention deficit types of issues, often also related to diet, but could be other factors. So you need to look at all the kind of biochemistry, biology. I think if it was me, I would probably start by looking at diet first. A lot of times when kids plateau, your dietary stuff or fungal sometimes, I'd want to consult with a physician who practices in these types of areas for autism, and make sure there's nothing that I could do sort of from a biochemical perspective to help the child wake up a little bit, pay better attention. And then I'd want to make sure the lesson plan and everything that I'm working on is rewarding. So I think those are the main things, but that's how I troubleshoot. I look at all those different areas. And then if you can't find something there, then obviously you have to keep going deeper. And, ultimately you end up doing things like making sure that everything is okay in the brain with brain scans and so on. But I don't think you're there. It is very common for kids to plateau at different stages. They either can get bored with things, or, as I said, they can start losing attention. The lesson needs to be fun and challenging and rewarding, and the child needs to be in their best shape in terms of sleep and diet and biochemistry. So those types of things need to be in place, and that's where I would focus first.
Okay, while I'm responding to that and getting to the next question, I'm going to try something, and our viewers know that I can't walk, talk, and chew gum at the same time. But I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to try to, so you guys can see me for a second, but now I'm going to try to share a screen and just do the application window. And see if I can get just Zoom. It does not like that. All right, so we're going to go back to what we were doing before. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so, but you know what I was thinking, Dr. Grampiche, when I read this, I totally didn't relate to the question at all. Like, it didn't ring a bell with me at all. But as you were talking, of course, it reminded me that we went through a little phase where, and I don't know if it was this age, I think it was a little bit older, where it seemed like I recall feeling like, oh, okay, well, I guess things are slowing down. But what we actually discovered was that my son needed to go on a slightly different diet. And And it was CARD who helped us to realize and say, okay, that he was eating like 3 things only. Yeah. And they were 3, and he was on a gluten-free, casein-free diet, but he was eating carbs. Everything he was eating was white. Yeah. He was having like white rice, white potatoes, and, chicken that was rolled in a rice flour. And that's all he was eating. Yeah. And so we went on for a very brief period of time with the doctor's help. We went on a specific carbohydrate diet, supercharged. Suddenly he was making the same kind of progress again in his program. So lots of different things to look at, but
I feel like every child has a different biochemistry, and different diets are good for different kids. But it's funny you should say that, because and maybe some of our viewers don't know, but I'm really, really thrilled that I have the opportunity to present about the biochemical aspects of autism, or the medical aspects of autism, in conjunction with the ABA, kind of working together at the ABAI conference that's coming up. The ABAI is Association for Behavior Analysis International. It's the big conference for BCBAs, and that's coming up at the end of this month. And my talk is about this subject. And it's funny, because as I was putting slides together for that a couple of days ago, I noticed that there's a lot of children, and I don't know, it's coincidental maybe, because I never noticed this before. But I have a couple of kids whose data I'm presenting who also had a sudden jump in their skill acquisition, so learning rate, when they switched over to a SCD diet, specific carb diet. So that's sort of strange, isn't it, Shannon? Because it had never occurred to me that diet kind of like reduces fogginess, because I've always thought that it's good for some kids, but not across the board.
Well, and I don't know, because I only know my scientific realm. My petri dish is my kid. And, but I know that through a lot of the young years, we battled yeast, really, and for people who don't know what that looks like, I mean, you can Google yeast and find a whole bunch of protocols and things, but, my son was just silly. It was like he was drunk. Yeah. I called him the drunken elf. He would walk through the living room and bump into things. And then he would laugh hysterically, and he smelled like fresh baked buns. I used to love to smell his head because it smelled like a bakery. But then eventually it got so bad that his breath smelled like he had been drinking. And I assure you, my child hadn't been drinking, saying there was no alcohol in the house for him to get into. And I was with him 24/7. So, but, and we did a bunch of different things, but the specific carbohydrate diet, and we didn't do it for very long. I know people that do it longer, really short period of time. I want to say that it was like 17 days. Wow. And it was a crazy 17 days. And then we were much more mindful about what his diet was. But the specific carbohydrate helped a lot. There was a specific book that we used that was called Breaking the Cycle. That helped me to get through that, Breaking the Cycle. I remember because I had it in the trunk of my car for the longest time, because we would go to a play date or something at the park, and somebody would say something, and I would go, I have the book with me. It's in my trunk. And we would talk about it. Okay, so I think that's cool that you're going to be presenting on that, and it's wonderful that a scientific mind like yours is looking at it. Okay, next question. And by the way, you guys, even though we're in this weird format, and believe me, we will rebroadcast this in a better format later on, but you can still be writing in questions on Facebook and YouTube. All right, my grandson toe walks, and I am told that this is a sign of autism. I see that he is different than the other children. I have commented a couple of times and been met with disapproval, like I'm a traitor. Is there something I can or should do? We hear this a lot from family members. right? You see a sign,
Yeah.
and that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but there's this lovely little part of autism that I call the river in Egypt, denial, right? Where,
Good.
right? But everybody goes through it. So for this grandparent, what do you suggest, Dr. Grandparent?
What a wonderful thing for this grandparent. I also, by the way, sorry to our viewers, I forgot, but I wanted to say a few just like good job and reinforcing words to the previous parents as well, because they are doing an intensive program, and it sounds like they're doing everything for their child. And I forgot to say that, because it's always lovely when I hear that it's like a 4 or 5 year old still getting 30 hours. So now back to this one, sorry. But good job to this grandparent who is worried about this scenario. I would suggest, it is one of the symptoms of autism. It doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't be something else. But it is definitely one of the symptoms we classify. It also occurs when kids have issues with constipation or diarrhea. So it could just be a GI issue as well. But what I would do is I would go online if you can, or if you can't, just write to Shannon and we will send it to you. And you can Google diagnostic criteria for ASD, and it comes up all the list of all the behaviors and symptoms that we look for. They pop up, and you might want to show that to your son or daughter, and maybe ask them to think about it, and maybe explain that you're not trying to say anything or suggest anything, but you just want them to consider it, because early intervention is so key in autism. And if it's a 2-year-old, it's much better than if it's a 3-year-old. So you're just trying to help them be aware of something that they might become aware of later. You're just trying to speed things up for them. So that's where I would go, because there's other areas that need to be looked at. And if they look at that list and they feel like, okay, well, maybe some of these things might apply, then they will be much more likely to make an appointment and actually see a professional who can tell them yes or no. And that's probably how you start. And just to give you an idea, other things that you could be looking for are sensory sensitivities. Some of our kids have a lot of sensory reactions that are not typical. Of course, a delay in social communication. I'm assuming this is a little guy because it hasn't been diagnosed yet. So we're looking at things like delays in eye contact, delays in will not respond to name when called, or preferring to do their own activity, and you have to repeat things several times before they pay attention. Not being able to have a look at you and infer information from looking at their environment. They kind of feel like they're more isolated or in their own world. Those are the types of things that, to me, and then of course language is usually delayed when we diagnose. So those are the types of things that I look for. And then there's the presence of self-stimulatory behaviors as well. And those could vary. Toe walking is one of them, but there are other self-stimulatory behaviors like lining up toys, or flicking on and off the lights in a room, or opening and closing the door multiple times, looking at ceiling fans or things that turn around, looking at reflections or shadows of things. There's a lot of things that you could be considered symptoms.
Okay, I'm going to join you back here, I think. So since COVID, my 8-year-old with high function, and can I just go back and say about that other one too, that it's so hard. I also have this issue in that I am never sure what to say and when to say and how to say. And, you know, when I think that somebody should have a child looked at, it's a really dicey thing.
Yeah.
And you never quite know, you know, what to do. You never know quite what to say. But I think it's better to say something than not say something. And I know that that's easy for me to say because it's not my kid. I keep thinking about what would I do if it was Jem's kid. But I do know that the friend who finally said something to me, I'm forever indebted to. And there were a lot of people who later on said, oh yeah, I thought your kid had autism, but they didn't say.
Yeah.
And I still don't trust them. I'm just going to be honest.
Well, it's just that people they don't want to be the bearers of bad news.
Yeah.
You know? And autism is a scary thing, and just telling someone right off the bat is pretty difficult. I mean, when I diagnose kids, I'm very, very cautious about how I do that and how I explain things to the family, because it's going to be very overwhelming and scary.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, going to this next question. Since COVID, my 8-year-old with high-functioning autism seems to be unraveling. He is anxious all the time, won't go out, isn't sleeping well, melts down anytime a routine is altered. I'm very worried. What can I do? And they didn't say isn't sleeping well. They said isn't sleeping.
Yeah, I feel so bad. That's terrible. And that's exactly the kind of stuff that I fully am worried about for a lot of our families right now. Let's reestablish how we can make things a little bit better for this little guy. Like do a full kind of evaluation of what's going on with his life, and how can we, within the parameters of what we're stuck with COVID, how can we make things better? So clearly he does have anxiety. Let's start there. And anxiety, of course, is fear. And what is causing his fear? He probably, being 8, has some understanding of COVID. This is, Shannon, kind of what I was telling you in the beginning, was that I'm very concerned. I was telling our viewers in the first couple of weeks that I'm very concerned about how we communicate about COVID to our kids, because they're curious, they hear things. A lot of our kids are seeing things on TV. A lot of times they're on the internet. Remember when we had 9/11 happen and we all were like, okay, I can't turn off the TV for a few days because we don't want our kids to see that, right? Unfortunately, with COVID-19, it's not a few days, it's months of this stuff. And you turn on any social media or wherever, and you'll see definitely a picture of this bacteria and how it enters, and death rates and all this sort of stuff. And it's scary. It can be very scary. And if it's a child who has somewhat of an understanding, they are going to be very terrified, thinking that it might affect their family members or themselves or whatever. It's just going to be a very scary thing for them. So the first thing is, and they might also hear you, parents, talking about it or being worried about it. So, you know, I know it feels wrong, but I feel like you need to kind of celebrate this time with your child and turn it into something more positive. In the beginning of this period, my kids who were in their 20s were just kind of like, you know, now we're not going to be able to go out or see our friends or do anything or whatever. And I was like, just think of it as an extended Christmas. Because, you know, during Christmas, we all gather and the family is very close and we do fun things. And it's like about 4 or 5 days during that time where we just are family and we do puzzles and all that sort of stuff. And of course, so it was like turning this negative period of time into a positive mindset, which is, wow, look how awesome this is. You don't have school, or you know, you can do school at home and we get to go, you know, play together and spend time together. You have to turn it into a positive thing for your child, first of all. And if they have knowledge, answer their questions. Tell them that it's like a cold. Make it a little bit smaller in their mind than what it might be. And tell them the rules are we just have to stay safe and stay away from people, but we wash our hands, and when you wash your hands you get rid of the germs and all that sort of stuff. Just make it very factual. And then more importantly, start to set up routines and schedules for your child, because nothing provides a sense of security more than a routine or schedule. Nothing for all of us. So set up a schedule and help your child adhere to that schedule. Make sure it's a fun schedule. Make sure it's positive. Go outside. Include, as I said in the first weeks, include things that are more, like some physical activity, a little bit of crafts, arts and crafts, a little bit of maybe adaptive skills, daily living, like in the home, maybe cooking, preparing a sandwich. Do some arts. Of course, we all have to do some academics right now. Do some ABA if you have a provider who can help you do that. Just, kind of mix up the day. Keep your child busy if you can. And I know this is what's very hard, as most of our parents also work. But if you can, spend a full day setting up the schedule for your child and kind of going through the schedule with him and rewarding every phase, and just turn it into like a Disneyland type experience. Like, isn't this fun? This is awesome. What else can we do? Let's go and do this. Let's go and do that. Keep him busy with activities. Make sure they're rich in reinforcement. So a lot of reinforcers throughout the day, things that the child enjoys. Do that and you don't have to be part of it, of course, yourself, because you might be busy, but make sure this really highly reinforcing schedule is in place for a full week. And then gradually start to put in more demanding type stuff so that it starts to be more manageable. But you always have to, when a child is anxious or depressed, you have to snap them out of that by kind of shaking up their environment and their setting, and putting in a ton of rewards and reinforcers just to kind of get them out of their mold. Again, another thing is, don't worry about too many things. Like, under normal circumstances, we're often worried about, is he watching too much TV? Is he online too often? That kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if he's watching more TV than usual. If he's online a lot, it doesn't matter, as long as he's online with safe places or other people. So make sure that you are allowing maybe some of the reinforcers that you wouldn't allow before. The same thing with foods. Like, we're strict with our kids sometimes, but during this time, you got to be a little bit more flexible with things, and just make sure that there is a lot of reward. And then if he's asking a lot of questions about it, make sure that you answer those questions truthfully, but keep them pleasant, keep them, don't answer with anything that could potentially in the child's mind become more frightening than it really needs to be. And then, of course, last is, model behavior for your child, which means be happy yourself in the environment at home. Don't worry, don't be anxious. Try to do things together that take your mind off of these days. When I used to go through difficult times when my kids were young, I would always do shared arts and crafts with them, because it would help them and it would help me as well. Keep busy. And so those are the types of things you have to do right now, which essentially means you also need to kind of take care of yourself in order to be able to help. Sleep is a different issue. I highly recommend melatonin. It's very harmless. It's something we produce ourselves. There's lots of different types of melatonin. As you know, Shannon, I love tranquil sleep. It's very helpful. You really need to help your child sleep. Not sleeping or having minimal sleep automatically leads to depression and anxiety. So it's a bad cycle. So you definitely want to work on the sleep as well.
Okay, I'm gonna see. Oh, look, my camera is working now. There I am. Okay. So I loved all of your answers, and it made me think about so many things that we've all had something happen in our life that was difficult, right? And if you think back to the time when something was difficult, when there's time and space between you and the difficult thing, there are some happy memories that go along with the thing. Like I can think about being in the intensive care unit with a parent that was very sick and we didn't know if they were going to die. And yet, there was a moment of hilarity that happened in the intensive care unit. And now with time and space and knowing that it turned out okay and that the parent lived, that's the memory that I have, is that moment when we were, this moment of hilarity in the intensive care unit. So I know that right now we're all under so much stress and nobody knows what the end of the story is, and that creates stress for all of us. But if we remove that from the story for our kids, like our kids don't have the capacity to deal with that right now. But as you said, this is a time where we could be doing happy, happy things. And the truth is that later on, that is what we will remember. And that is most certainly what they will remember. And it's hard. I'm sure that you struggle with this too, Dr. Granpeesheh, and so do I, that I'll clip along and, everything will be okay for a few minutes. And then I go, what's going to happen? Yeah. And I want an answer. I want to know, on this day, things are going to be exactly this way. And I'm an adult, so I get to know that I'm not going to get that. That is not possible. And I just got to manage it, right? But I can give that even to my 16-year-old. I can give that to him and keep things on an even keel, because I keep thinking of the movie Life is Beautiful. If you guys haven't seen where they get taken into a concentration camp and the dad is determined to make it so that his child does not think that this is anything horrible. So he makes it like it's this big game. And there isn't a happy ending to that, but I know we're all going to have a happy ending, and that we're going to get back to something close to what our life is like, but we're going to take what we learned from this. I think that's, when we say the new normal, I hope that that's what we're talking about. So I just want to encourage people, if you could remove the fear element from it and say, I don't know, fill it in for your head and say that by this and so date, everything will be back to normal. So I can take a breath right now and enjoy this, because those are the memories you're going to have anyway. It reminds me, and I keep saying this over and over again, it reminds me of autism. That when my child was diagnosed, all I wanted was for somebody to tell me that I was going to wake up someday 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, and that everything was going to be okay, and that I would be okay, and that he would be okay, and we would be okay. And I found it very difficult to be in the moment for a long time while we were doing therapy. I was so worried about the future that a lot of days I forgot to be in that moment with my kiddo and with myself. And I look back, and the things that I remember are all the joy. I know that I was hysterical and freaking out most of the time. But I remember that at the end of the day with therapy, when the last therapist had left, we had such a hard time moving on to the next thing. So we instituted what I hear a lot of you guys are doing, which is dance party, where we would put on one song that might be 1 minute and 37 seconds, and the three of us would just dance like crazy people in the living room. And then I would go back to making dinner, and we would go back to whatever the things were that we were supposed to be doing that weren't therapy. And that's what I remember now, is the dance party. If you ask me, of course I'll remember, and I'll go, oh, well, I remember the day when they taught him that, or I remember the day that he had a hard time with that. I can also remember those things, but that's not what my memory of it is. My memory, because I have the end of the story, is that we danced every night in the living room. So I just hope that for everybody, whether your kid is actively showing you the anxiety or not, I think they're all having it. Do everything that you can to make it as fun as possible, because 6 months from now, a year from now, we're all going to look back and think about 10 years down the road, the stories that we're going to tell. Oh, you know what we did during the COVID thing? You know what we did during the Great Isolation? Oh, you know, the funniest thing that happened during that? Those are going to be the stories we tell anyway. So maybe we should just focus on that now.
Yeah, that's amazing, Shannon. Thank you for saying all that, because I think you know, I suddenly, when you started talking about how you compared it to autism, I suddenly realized the fear that parents go through, and it's a very lonely experience, right? It's like, even though there's a whole world of autism, but it is a very frightening experience when someone says, you've now entered this world. And it is terrifying. And in some ways, it's the same fear that we have right now, because we just don't know if it'll end and when it'll end. It's funny you say that, because it's like, just before the show, I was saying to my husband, do you think life will ever go back to normal? And that's essentially the same exact feeling with autism. Thanks for saying that, because that's the first time I realized that level of fear and kind of understood it. I do want to say something else you said to me about COVID early on. It was in some other call or talk we were having, and you mentioned something to me that's massively helped me, and maybe it'll help our viewers or the parents in regards to what we're all going through right now. Which is different, I guess, than you know, the whole autism thing, is that it's almost like you said something about, but look at what's happening with nature. And it made me suddenly realize this whole thing about, you know, kind of the yin and yang of the universe, and how we as people were consumers and just taking in everything from our universe. And as you know, the ozone layer is healing right now. As you know, there are so many aspects of nature that are recovering just because we're not out there, just because we're not using, oil and stuff and driving our cars and all of that kind of stuff. There's an incredible amount of positive, that's kind of balance of nature is coming back. And so to me, it helps me whenever I think about that, because it gives me, I guess it helps me see the positive side of it. There's no positive other than that, you know, but when you look at the positive side of that, it just makes me feel like I'm happy to be part of, I can stay at home because I'm happy to be part of the people who helped heal our universe again. Something like that. And also I do think that after this, there will be a different view that we all as people have towards each other. I think humanity will improve. I think there will be more gratitude for a lot of things that we were all taking for granted. So, you know, those are some of the positives that will come out of this, and it helps to remember those.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's been a big wake-up call for everyone in so many different areas. I've heard everybody say, man, it's so funny because I had felt this and I didn't realize how many other people felt it, that we were all going at breakneck speed, not knowing where we were going to. But that it was just, you you got up in the morning and you did, and then you got in bed at night. And I can remember thinking a couple of months ago about, well, this can't go forever. What is it, retirement that comes and then you slow down? How do we, do this? Because I've got a kid who's in high school and there's a certain amount of, and I thought it was just me. But now hearing that everybody's had to slow down, everybody's like, I kept asking myself, how long could I keep up this pace? People whose careers are completely different. And it just makes me think, okay, everything affects everything else. So I'm hopeful with where we will come out of this. And I said early on that one of the things that was helping me was reading literature from other times of quarantine. like, reading F. Scott Fitzgerald writing letters about what it was like being quarantined in Europe, and that it felt like it was going to go on forever and that it could never possibly end and people could never be safe again. And knowing that the end of that story, that it all worked out and everybody was okay. And I also, one of the things early on for me, because you said autism feels like you're on a planet by yourself. You feel completely alone. And I talk about that all the time with our parents. But as Jem was finishing his card program, I had this dream that I've written about and talked about, where I was standing and watching a car with a woman driving it, and the car rolled. And the woman rolled out of the car, and she was wearing this big jacket. And as she rolled, babies were coming out of her jacket. And people in the parking garage would roll with her. They would take her in her arms and roll with her a few feet. And when they would separate, they would keep a baby, and she would keep rolling into somebody else's arms who would take a baby, so on and so forth, until she finally rolled all the way around in the parking lot to me. And I was the last person to scoop her up. And she looked up at me, and it was me. It was me holding on to me. And she looked up at me with this like sheer terror in her eyes. And she said, "Oh my gosh, did you see what happened to me? Oh my gosh." And I said to her, "Did you see how many people's arms you were in?"
Wow.
Because for me, when I was going through autism, I did not see how many people with my son. I didn't personally go through autism with my son. I went through autism. But I did not see how many people's arms we were in. But we were always in so many people's arms. There were people who were caring about us and about him that I didn't even know. And I think that's true for all of us, that even now, I believe that we are in a lot of people's arms. There are scientists who are working to find a way to make sure that we can all be safe and healthy, and we don't know them, but we are in their arms. And that helps me. And that I always say to you guys, I said to you before, Dr. Grampiche, that sometimes I just like to tell our audience about people that are working on things that they don't know and remind them, see, you're in people's arms and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
What an amazing dream.
Oh, I have crazy dreams.
About that.
Oh my goodness. I have crazy weird dreams. I've told you about some of my dreams, but I digress greatly. Okay, so next question. Being at home, oh, this is a hard one. Being at home has made me realize that my husband does not accept our son's diagnosis. I think I always knew it, but he was at work and it was easier for me to pretend. Bless you, I'm sending you hugs. You're in people's arms. He has not learned what I have learned. He yells at our son and tells him to stop humming, which our child does all the time. I cannot bear to have him yell at our son. I would leave, but I have nowhere to go. Is there any hope? What can I do to get my husband to stop yelling at him?
Oh, yeah.
That's
a tough one. Years ago, we used to have a very lovely dad with us, Nancy's husband, who used to help us as we held these sessions for fathers. A lot of fathers have difficulty with this, and a lot of fathers are in denial. It's super important because I think what I learned from those sessions from Reed was that dads in particular, moms, when something's going on with our child, we a lot of times we just turn into a warrior. And we're just like, I'm going to slash through whatever wall is ahead of us and open the path for you. And just let's keep going. And dads, I feel like they personalize it and more in some ways, or some dads do. And they start thinking, it's a reflection of them. And then they have a very, very hard time coping with it. So, it's going to be very hard. Everybody has a different, ability to accept difficult things. It's going to be difficult for your husband to accept any of this stuff unless to know how to deal with your son unless he is a little bit more accepting of the diagnosis. So, you know, it's really important, I guess, for him to have his own experience of this. I think what ends up happening sometimes with us as moms is that we are trying to convince our spouses and they become more and more defensive. So I don't think you need to, you will be successful if you try to do anything about this. I do think at this time, your best bet is to just, you know, keep your child occupied and away from him so that you and your child are not in harm's way. And then I think that he will benefit from maybe you know, reading more, listening to, I mean, there's so much information about autism and how it affects us. I'm not sure what he's open to, but what I'm trying to say is that it's his journey. He has to find it out for himself. And until that happens, I guess the only thing you can really do is to, you know, try to keep your child protected.
Yeah, I have to say that, you know, I think, I'm sorry, what did you say, Doreen?
I said it's just so tough.
It is tough. Well, and especially when you're locked at home. I think when you can distance, you know, it's a little bit easier to pretend, like the mom said. I do want to say that I don't know a single couple that didn't go through this in some aspect or form.
Yeah.
That it, you know, when people say, oh, well, you know, this, we would like for the parents to be on the same page. And I go, like, how could that ever happen? We're coming in with different experience. We have different fears. We have different priorities. Like, you know, for any parents with a kid with autism or not, it's very hard to be on the same page every day. It's next to impossible when there are decisions that have to be made that affect your child's life almost on a daily basis. And so I want to just put some hope into this parent's backpack that there have been a lot of parents, and a lot of times it's the dads, although sometimes it's a mom, right? That people have come around. People have come around. I don't think it was from somebody nagging at them or threatening them, but people have come around. And there are cases where people don't, and where the parents separate and the parent goes away, and that breaks my heart. But the one thing that my mother, who was very happily married for a lot of years, and I waited a lot of years before I got married. But the one thing that my mother taught me is that marriage is a two-person dance. And if somebody doesn't want to dance, it's not your fault. And, you know, you want to cut yourself some slack there. That if somebody won't dance with you and you give them plenty of opportunities, it's not your fault. And that's sad.
That's right. That's right. It's very difficult. I just remember this parent that I had, this mom who came in, and it was a single mom in that case. And she was very, very just angry at the world and at her child and so on. And what worked for her was me just stopping the conversation about her little girl and talking more about her. And I guess acknowledging the pain she was in. And that's maybe what your husband needs, is acknowledgement of his own pain. Because until you can acknowledge your own pain, you're just angry. Until someone in the world acknowledges that you are in pain, you're angry because you feel like no one understands. And that anger could be what you're seeing, is that he's angry at his son. But it's because of his own pain. And so sometimes it might be important to acknowledge that you know, he's in pain as well.
Yeah, it's not easy. We filmed one of those talks with Reed, and we still have not gotten it out to the world. It's called Facing Fatherhood. And I think initially we weren't thrilled with some of the sound in it, but the message in it is so important. I need to resurrect that. And your daughter was instrumental in that project. That was Nikki's project. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it was called Facing Fatherhood. And it really, it's the first time that I ever saw a group of dads, and we have it recorded, where they sit and they talk and they get honest with each other. And it's devastating as a wife
Yeah.
And then, you know, part of what was hard is that on the video, Reed, Nancy's husband who passed away, on it, he, you know, each one of the dads talked to their baby mamas about, because some of them were still together and some of them weren't, about, you know, how they felt about them as a mom. And Reed said in his, he said, you know, what I most want to say to my wife is, please don't ever die, because I can't do this without you.
Ugh.
And then Reed died. So we kind of held it up for that for a while too, because it was poignant. But I think it's time. I think in Reed's memory, we gotta resurrect that. In any case, this has been a wild and woolly show, and I just want to thank everybody. And I want to thank Dr. Grandpichet for sticking in. And we're going to fix all of our technical issues and move on with life. But I know that Dr. Grandpichet needs to go to a meeting. I thank you so much. I want to remind everybody, Dina Kimmel from We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gyms is with us tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Dina, you can unmute now.
I did. I'm sorry, I was trying. I'm glad no one could hear me. I was laughing so hard with your purple pink puppet.
You know, we got to keep it real. So I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from a lot of different locations. We're coming to you live from my house. Dina, where are you?
I'm actually in my office. I'm in my office. Nice.
You're like a crazy working woman.
What can we do? What can we do, right?
That's right. Well, and I'm working too, but I'm working totally from home. And our producer is coming from a third location because we're observing that distance. We're way more than 6 feet apart. But I am so excited because it's Mother's Day week. And it was really important to me this week to have some of the mothers that I find the most inspirational on the show. And there is Dina Kimmel for a very good reason. I don't know if everybody knows, but they call you Mama D because you are a little bit everybody's mom. You are an amazing mom and you are an amazing advocate in our autism community. And of course, you are the founder and CEO of an amazing place for all of our kids. I'm talking about the We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gyms, and which are all over the place now. How many places are your gyms in now, Dina?
Oh Lord, I guess it's a good sign when you don't know how many. We're in 90. We're in 90 locations, and soon to be, within the next couple months, 100. As we just partnered with a great family who's going to be opening them all over the Middle East and as well as the states here that we don't have gyms in. So we're going to be in 50 states within the next 24 months.
Wow. Well, and what's fun is that I remember when you had one gym and you were like, well, maybe someday we'll get to 15. And then I blinked. It was like 3 seconds later and you had 27. And now you're at 90. You're a crazy woman. And these gyms are amazing. Take a second to talk a little bit about what people can find at the gyms, Dina.
Well, I have to first say that I have to be honest with you. And you asked for me to be on the show today. It didn't even dawn on me. Hello, it's Mother's Day weekend. I've been so consumed in being, as you said, the Mama D to my own children and the franchise and keeping everything going that, thank you. Thank you for saying that, it's right back at you. You're an incredible mother and have been my mentor since I started this, 10 years ago. So I'm very appreciative of your generous and kind words. But yes, here we are now, started in 2009, and I can't believe it. We Rock's 10-year anniversary is the 1st of September. So,
Wow.
you know, who would have thought now 10 years later, something that I started out of just this great need for my son in 2009, when he was diagnosed in our home, which has now become a gym again, by the way, with quarantine, right? And then some. Thank God for the outdoors and the beautiful weather right now. But here we are today. You know, I can't believe I'm sitting across from the flagship gym, and yes, I'm very blessed because there's only 2 other people in the office right now. We're more than 12, 15 feet apart from one another. But I'll tell you something. I don't know about you, but I'm sure this quarantine has done a lot for, a lot of things, a lot of different things for many people. I think it's brought out the best in, I would say, the vast majority of us. And then, of course, our fears, as well. And as long as you can't let that, fear take over you, I think that really we're coming out of this on top. But I would have never thought 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here talking to you. I was, working right now, on closing, my first lease in the Tarzana We Rock, and thought, oh my God, this is going to be so incredible for Gabriel and for Sophia. And I don't have to go to, my clothing stores that I owned. I could just be here every day and have Gabriel's therapy in the same, place where I work. And I don't care if I make even $1, just as long as I can be here and help the community and let the community see what being on this OT equipment every day can do. Because who can afford $150 an hour, right? 7 days, not me. So,
No.
you know what happened, the history. We opened up and 3 weeks later it blew up, and I never thought I'd be a franchisor, because what did I know about franchising? But always been a businesswoman. And when the need was there, it was more, this is first and foremost, this is about passion. This is about the children. It's about, yes, the inspiration of these 2 beautiful kids that my husband and I have, that's grown into, really helping and saving hundreds of thousands of people across the world. It's incredible. But I'll tell you, I've never been more proud of who we are than, look, I'll get emotional, than who we are today. This quarantine has just done really amazing things for the brand, for the mission of inclusion, realizing, what are we going to do? There I was. What are we going to do? What's going to happen?
Well, can I just interrupt you and say that it has always been my pleasure to know you. You have been a light. And from the first time that I ever met you, I was like, ooh, that's somebody I want to grow up to be like, because you're a mover and a shaker, and you don't settle for you're always moving, and you're always moving in the right direction, Dina. But as you said, this brings things out in people. And there have been a couple of people that I've kind of stood by and gone, whoa. Some people just went, oh, okay, well, then this is going to be a staycation and I'm going to go home. And, I guess I'll take a break for a couple of weeks, which has now turned into, a couple of months. But what I saw you do, because there were a lot of businesses that were sitting there and they were like, oh no, this is going to hurt my business. And a lot of gyms had to close. They closed their doors. And what I saw you do, I'm going to forever be in awe of you.
There's the garbage truck, by the way, in the background. So it's perfect timing. Sorry about that.
No. I have helicopters that practically land on my house. So we just have accepted all of it. Okay. But so Dina, instead of saying, okay, well, we're just going to close our gyms, please tell everybody, I'm so proud of you. Please tell everybody what you did.
You know me, I don't take those moments to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe what, myself and my family have put together. I don't have those moments. And I'm able to have, of course, we all are able to have so much time for reflection. But when this first hit, and as you know, the state of California was the first to close down entirely, it was a weekend. Okay. I was, basically on my own because my team is off on the weekends. Myself and my COO, Gail Field, we're on. We have this private owners group where we're always, you can't see my fingers here, but texting and, messaging people. And, but other than that, all of a sudden this happened. And I was like, oh my God, oh my gosh, what do we do? Wait, are we essential? Are we non-essential? I mean, I know we're essential for the special needs families, but what do we do? What do we do now? So there I was calling my attorney, talking to the Chamber of Commerce, and we were considered at that time non-essential. So all doors closed. Well, that didn't sit well with me. And I'm not going to lie, I had a very stressful weekend. I was helping owners. I was answering questions because the special needs community was freaking out. We can't keep our kids, especially you remember when your son was younger, like 9, stuck indoors for 2 months? Heck no. Heck no.
No.
They become, our kids, as you know, they become aggressive. You know, kids that were never aggressive are becoming aggressive because they have no outlet, right?
Yeah, they got to work their yayas out.
I just love that word that you use. I love the yayas. I can't say it because you say it so perfectly, but yes. So I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting there for 48 hours the whole weekend. I was helping my owners, you know, answer messages, panicked. It just seemed like my whole team was like away that weekend. So I couldn't get a hold of anybody. And Gail, my COO, had just had, you know, a minor, you know, surgery. And so I was literally on my own. I'm not going to lie. And that just doesn't happen anymore, right? You can't run a company like this, you know, unless you have this amazing team like we have. So there I was on the couch taking a couple, you know, hours, cat naps. And I literally woke up and I went, our nonprofit. Well, as you know, we have a nonprofit called My Brother Walks the Spectrum Foundation. And I said, I need to turn this franchise into an essential business. What am I going to do? So I called up one of my board members and I said, listen, this is my thought. This is what I want to do. It was literally 1 o'clock in the morning, but thank God he's on a different time zone. I said, I want to take care of all the first responders, all the healthcare workers and the essential business kids. I want to take care of their children. I want to do it for free. So that's what I want to do. I want to do that worldwide as a franchise. We have to be a part of this. We have to keep our doors open because what are we about? We're philanthropic. Okay. Yes, you have to pay for an admission. These individual franchisees are business owners, but not during crisis, not during something like this. We go back to the basics. We need to help families. And it couldn't be just about the special needs families, right? It needed to be about the essential care workers. Okay. So how can I bring that together? Well, if you're an essential care worker, if you work in a hospital and you have a special needs child, there's nowhere for you to go. They shut down daycares. They shut down everything, right? And you don't want to give your child at this time, you know, to a grandparent where you can make them, you know, at risk. So, you know, the Mama D, okay, kicked in and we put in the electrostatic spray daily, okay, in our locations. Everyone was gloved up, masked up. We did this big announcement via MBRTS. And I'm not sure if you saw it out there on social media. And we said what we were going to do. And that was it. I couldn't believe it. More than, I would say 75% of our locations. I'm sorry, again, that's the trash in the back.
It's okay.
More than
It's okay.
75% of our locations were able to stay open. Some of our locations in different countries, it was mandated that they shut down completely. But I'm sorry, I have to laugh at this. It's just, right? Can you believe this?
We can barely hear it.
Oh, you can?
So,
Okay, good.
yeah, it's fine.
Well, I called the mayor, I called the mayor's office. I wanted to make sure that this was okay. I made sure that my other owners, again, called their local officials' offices and they said, yeah, you're essential. You can stay open. So this is what we've been doing now we're going on 8 weeks. So the kiddos, they come to the front door with their parents, you know, we're on our knees, we're sanitizing, you know, their hands. Mom and dad can't come in. They have to be masked up. You know, we've got our electric card reader. We scan their card, you know, and they come in, their kiddos' IDs come up. We've got these little cute guitar key tags, you know, and we've just, again, it's, you know, contactless, you know, we don't touch anything. And guess what? When our doors reopen, we're putting the same protocol in place because like you and I were talking about earlier, parents are still going to be nervous. You know, and when we open, it's going to be what has our mayor said here in California, Los Angeles, 25% capacity, right?
Yeah, 25%. So, you know, I'm just so proud of you. What a wonderful thing to do. We talked on the show about taking lemonades and making lemonade, and you made like incredible lemonade.
I will tell you, there was no choice. And it was very hard for the gym owners. You know, I have, you know, each of my locations here, I've got 90, you know, babies around me. How am I going to keep them calm? How am I going to keep them okay? They need to keep doing what they're doing. They can't be locked up in their homes. You know, so many of them want to, you know, again, they can't just sit in your home and take care of your own children. When you're a part of We Rock the Spectrum and you are daily making an impact, okay, on children's lives, there's no stop. So once we did this, and once again, I met with my board member and he gave me the go to do it. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on funding health, first responders, healthcare workers, grocery store workers, pharmacists, kids. We're taking care of them. And it's been so, just a wonderful experience seeing that, across the board worldwide, there hasn't been a COVID case in any of my locations. Okay. The owners have been doing it right. We don't let someone come up. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If your state isn't requiring a mask, we require the mask. So we've got our own rules in the We Rock the Spectrum franchise. And that's what we're following. And I don't care how rural the city is, where, We Rock the Spectrum is, we've got our protocol. And I'm so proud to say that we have safely taken care of hundreds of children for first responders and healthcare workers.
And what are these folks saying to you, Dina? Because you have to have been like a godsend to them. Because they knew they needed to go to work, but this was a problem across the board that people were like, where are my kids going to be? They can't be in school. So like, what kinds of things are they saying to you, Dina? They've got to be just so appreciative.
They're so appreciative. I will tell you, the hardest part has been sticking with within the numbers. Like, for example, my location's very small. So we can't have more than 10 people. That's including, workers or one-to-ones if they have special needs. So it's saying no. We've had a wait list in Tarzana for almost 8 weeks. So of course, the kiddos that have been coming in, they're so appreciative. The parents, tears. We've seen a lot of tears.
I'm sure.
And we're just showing, our gratitude, our appreciation, because as you know, if we can't keep their kids, safe, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if I get sick? I need them okay, right? So let us at least do our part so that we can take care of our kiddos so they can continue saving lives for us, or putting, food on the table in the grocery stores. You don't really realize what's essential. This has been such a lesson to learn. Well, we got to eat, right? We got to eat, we got to go to work, we got to save lives. We have to, provide the prescriptions for, loved ones that are sick, or it's just there's so much out that we didn't realize. And I have to tell you, when this first happened, Shannon, I'm like, we're essential because I have a child with special needs and he has to be having OT. No, we weren't considered. So once we turned it and made it to where we are only taking care of the essential care workers, it's been great. Now, what we've been able to do in some countries, which is amazing, is do what's called private facility hire. So parents are actually renting the gym just for their family, say like at $50 an hour, or $75 for 90 minutes, and they get the whole gym to themselves. And this is for our special needs community. So that's what we're able to do for them as well. It's been
crazy good.
It's been an incredible journey. It's been hard. I'm not going to lie. I've been going Facebook Live every single day in my private Facebook group for my owners, encouraging them. There's such innovators out there. And I think we all needed this to happen to see it's been amazing. I've never been more proud, of my babies, not just my children, but all my We Rock babies ever in this journey. It's been truly exhilarating to watch the drive, the passion, that I'm not giving up. I feel like I need to put my arm up and say, fight. They're fighting, they're warriors. Really.
Yes. And so proud of you, but you mentioned that you guys have some safety protocols in place that are extraordinary and that other people could learn from. And that, 8 weeks and you haven't had a single case. Talk a little bit about, you talked about that you do masks and there's gloves and everything, but you mentioned some sort of electrostatic. What did you say?
So there's a spray. Exactly. So in the hospital, you'll see, I don't know, I hope you've never had to, see that, but unfortunately, we've all got our health stuff. Myself, my son, and my daughter, we suffer from Crohn's disease. So we've been in and out of hospitals a lot. So we've seen how they go in there every day and they spray this mist. And when this hit, we found, looked around and said, okay, what can we do? We need to behave like we're a hospital, because we're taking care of these kids that daily can be exposed, to COVID-19. So one, we had to search for a product, that we knew killed COVID-19, that was EPA approved, which how are products going to be COVID-19 approved this fast, right? Well, guess what? We found one. We found one out there. And then what we did is we found a different device. It's very expensive. The electrostatic, the machines themselves. So we found something very similar like it that can be done daily, because there's a lot of these companies out there that misrepresent the product. You know what? You can spray once a week, and it kills, all the bacteria. Well, what happens when that dries? It's not It doesn't continue to kill for 9 days, like they say. It doesn't. And we had a little angel, okay, who has a company that does this, loved what we were doing, and came by, okay, the gym, and gave us free God-sent information and said, listen, I love what you're doing, but I have to be honest with you. The spray that I do in these other companies that I know that you're using, it will not kill COVID-19 for 9 days. Like it says, it won't. You need to spray every day. And that was it. Went Facebook Live in my owners group, get this machine. As a matter of fact, will you bring me over the little machine? That would be great. I have AJ, our community manager of We Rock Corporate, bringing it over. I want to show, because if I could help other companies, when they're opening up.
Show us. People need to know.
This is what it is, okay? This was bought, okay, online from Amazon, okay? When you go and you're managing your garden, okay, and you're spraying, whatever products you do, because I'm not a gardener. I'll be honest with you, but it's got this spray, okay, and it's got this device, and AJ actually has been amazing. And it's a mister, okay? So every day at the end of the day, which we've been open from 8:30 until 3 o'clock. Thank you, AJ. Every single day.
Thank you, AJ.
We go in there and we spray down the whole gym. Now, of course, we've removed the soft play toys, anything, fabric, we've removed from the gym entirely. And that's our daily regimen. That's our daily regimen, and then of course, every hour we're wiping down, doorknobs and everything. And it doesn't matter if you're gloved up. And a lot of people, and I've seen some incredible nurses talk about this live via social media, is you have to have, okay, your sanitizer by you, even if you're wearing gloves. Okay, so if you touch something, well, gloves serve no purpose. Boom, you need to sanitize. So the girls are sanitizing, okay, literally several times an hour, and just giving love and play and laughter to these children and not treating them any different. We do have little X's on the ground to keep the kiddos 6 feet apart when they're in line for the zip line or for the trampoline. And the difference is, instead of sitting, right next to each other, it's every other chair, okay, where the kiddos are sitting. And I am proud to say, here we are, it is May 7th, and we're doing it. We're doing
That's
it.
Right.
We've kept these families and these children safe throughout this quarantine. I'm proud.
Well, you should be proud, because it's a huge thing, and it's something for other companies to look at and go, okay, this is doable, as everybody goes to reopen, Dina, because there's a lot of trepidation right now, and things are starting to reopen, and states are starting to reopen, and everybody's got to be reasonable, but I think the fear has been like so much unknown, but like you're a case study, 8 weeks, and you guys have been killing it, literally.
Yeah, not COVID-19, absolutely. And anything else, really. It also kills, it kills 99.9% of, bacteria and viruses, the product that we use.
Wow.
Well, and I want to tell the public out there, we are more than happy to share, the steps in what we do. Please reach out, email us, at reception@wrtsfranchise.com. We would love to share, the products and our method, what we do, because anything that we can do to keep other businesses, safe out there, we're happy to do.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So thank you for like doing such a great job, especially for our first responders. If you, and as you said, it's the word essential has changed so much, right? Because we would have said 9 weeks ago, what was essential would have been very different than what we say it is today. And, God bless all these people that are going, the nurses and the doctors, but also, as you said, the delivery people and the grocery workers. It's absolutely amazing. And I have wondered how those people were going to be able to take care of their kids while they were helping us. But if you just think about the pebble in the pond, right? That you threw the pebble into the pond and said, I'm going to take care of those first responders' kids. And then those first responders were able to take care of a whole bunch of other people who were able to take care of a whole bunch of other people. You've set in motion, I would venture that you've probably saved many, many lives, Dina.
I haven't looked at it like that, but hearing that, you're going to make me cry again. I've been like a big emotional, wreck seeing this in the best way possible, seeing these incredible things happen. But I have to tell you, obviously the mission and what we do, is essential, because actually during this 8-week quarantine, we brought on 2 new locations. We sold 2 new franchises. I don't know what other franchise will continue to sell their mission or their product, but what we do is essential. And people, knew that, guess what, this is going to happen. It's going to open back up. And we brought on a new location in Boston, and another new location in, what did we just open, guys? In Baltimore. So just that's within the last couple weeks. So
all right, I'm sorry, I interrupt you. But since you're talking about locations, let's stop for a second and tell people where should they go to look? If somebody's watching this and they're like, I don't know if there's a We Rock near me, what's the best way to look for that, Dina?
Well, as a whole, as a franchise, the great part is every single one of our locations, has a page or, a screen that shows the locations for the whole franchise itself. But if you want to do it more swiftly, just go to WRTSfranchise.com. info@WRTSfranchise.com is our email. You can also go on social media, which is We Rock the Spectrum, our headquarters page. And again, see all of our locations there as well. We also have an app now, and it's free. So yes, we've got the little cute, I will tell you, the Rock Boy app. It's very cute. And you can find all the locations on the app now. And that's another thing. Our app has become essential to reopening this franchise. We're going to be running everything through the app. So literally we're going to have customers outside the door, and they're going to be logging on. Here I am with my hands again, so you could see me via Zoom, logging on and checking in their kiddos online and paying that way, and then entering the door.
Wonderful. We got a couple of people who've written in and said some things. We've got Scotland watching right now.
Oh, I love it.
I have been immersed for the last, month. My husband and I are watching Outlander. I had read the books in the 90s, but so I'm learning the dialect. We're Scottish. I'm of Scottish origin, and so is my husband. But we've never, I didn't know till we did our genealogy. Shannon, I thought I was Irish. No, I'm Scottish. I am descended of royal Scottish royalty. There. Now it's out there. You can tell because I'm like, no, those rules don't apply to me. People are writing in and saying good morning, good evening. And people are saying they found you and they're so appreciative. They've seen some of your videos. Let's talk, Dina, about, because you have a whole other website that's about serving the community. Let's talk a little bit about that.
We do, and I've been able to do some great work through that as well. So that's called Rocking the Spectrum with Dina Kimmel. And it's basically a library from A to Z, different videos, how to, get through really the whole life, from, I would say, birth to adulthood of a child on the autism spectrum or sensory processing disorder, Down syndrome, really any special ability, as I call it. I don't call them disabilities, okay? Our children are people of determination. I learned that incredible 2 words when I was in Dubai opening up, and I loved it how the Sheikh Mohammed said, these are not children of disabilities, these are people of determination. So that's the verbiage that I use. But what we do is we offered a free membership. So during this quarantine time, we've offered a free membership. I mean, it's usually $9.99 a month, but it doesn't matter. Every dollar counts right now when you're not bringing in any dollars. So we've offered that membership free, and people have been able to go online and watch my videos. And, I call them Mama D's Motivational Minutes. And today we're going to talk about fear. Today we're going to talk about, paying it forward. Every day it's something new that I can bring to the public. And really it's therapy for me also. It feels good. It feels good to be able to, have these emails written in. I've been also going live via Zoom. I'm going live. We have a location opening up soon in Ireland. And so I'm coming on as guest speakers for, the community in their Dublin and their, in their area. And anyone out there, please, like I said, if you need it, you need that support, please just email in and I'll be there for you. Again, this is all free of charge. That's not why I did this. As you know, it's not why I became a franchise. I became a franchise of We Rock the Spectrum to help families, to help kids. And a lot of people think the special needs diagnosis is just about the child. It's not. It's greatly about the person who's taking care of that child. That's who needs the support.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the franchise again, because there are probably people who are watching who have, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to retract it a little bit, but not found their niche, right? I think that part of this journey is that you start out and you got to get your feet under you, right? And when you're trying to get your feet under you, you're looking for help and support. And, we do a show here that tries to do that, but let's face it, it's an hour a day. And sometimes you need more than that. So if you're looking for support to get through, any phase of the journey, you can go to Rock on the Spectrum and you can find that. And Dina, honestly, Dina's one of the best people to talk to you about, because she's no nonsense, right? But she's super positive and she knows how to kick it into action. But she's also not going to blow smoke up your tushy. Right? You know what I mean? Like, she's not going to tell you it's easy when it's not easy. But if you want to be with somebody who's positive and moving, man, Dina will take care of that for you. But I do think that along the way, what I've seen anyway, Dina, is that parents, there's like a shifting point once they get some support for themselves and their kids start to make progress, then they're on their way. But there's another shift where they find their place. And everybody has a place in this community, and it looks different on every person, right? And some moms, go and volunteer at the school, and some dads will go and coach the team that their kids are on, whatever it is. But some people have found that they need a home, a place where they can be, where their kids can be, where they can be working, earning an honest living, not, necessarily, becoming millionaires. It's not about that, but a place where you can work and be with your kids and your kids have resources. And a lot of those people have found you and said, I want to be an entrepreneur like you. And that's why you have so many gyms, because people have seen what you're doing and they want to be a part of it. And I've said many times that, our paths were running like this because Autism Live was just starting when you were starting We Rock. But if I had been a little later on Autism Live, or if you had been a little earlier, I would be an owner. I would. This is exactly what I would have done.
You would have been an amazing owner, but I can't imagine you without Autism Live. I can't. So I'm grateful for that. But I'll tell you something, Shannon. What's happening now is that a lot of businesses, sadly, are closing their doors and they're not going to be able to reopen. Okay. They've lost everything. So now we're getting a lot of inquiries coming in. Matter of fact, as soon as, the world said we're going to be reopening, all of a sudden all the inquiries are coming in. We have the We Rock on Wheels mobile. So we also kept that into play. So we kept that into play during the quarantine also. We were driving the bus to one family, especially the special needs families, driving the bus to their homes in their driveway, and their kiddos had 2 hours on that bus. For $99. Literally it was just to cover my staff and give that support. So now we're having people call in and go, I need a new business. Okay. So how much does it cost to have the bus franchise? And, these are all, to become a We Rock the Spectrum owner is one of the most feasible franchises that you can step into. And again, we're here to work with people. This is also, I feel like a time where we're all realizing, okay, you know what, we might have to shift our career. And this is happening. So we're getting a lot of those inquiries coming in saying, I've lost my restaurant. Okay. I've lost my hair salon. I've lost my, my shoe repair store, but I have a child on the spectrum. Do you think this would be a fit for me? And that's what I didn't expect. So that's been, I feel grateful for it. I'm also very sad, and I'm sad for, really so many families and businesses who have not been as fortunate as we have been to be able to, keep our doors open, really.
And it is sad, and change is always hard. But I've been comparing this to autism for a couple of weeks and saying that, in the beginning, when autism came and we were like, oh no, this isn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. And we went through a period of grief, and then we might even have gone through a period of denial, right? But then we started on the path of doing what we needed to do. And eventually we got to a place where we thought, I can't even imagine my life being any different. Absolutely. And we find the blessings along the way. And, I know that our lives changed exponentially when our child was diagnosed with autism. And when I look back on it, I just can't imagine it any other way. And I think that we're going to get to a point where 10 years down the road from now, there are going to be people who say, you know, I started a new career because of what happened with COVID and the Great Isolation. And wow, and that led me to this, which led me to this, which led me to this. And that they'll see that this was the path, that this was the thing that needed to happen. We're just in the scary phase of it right now, the unknown phase, the beginning phase. And that's hard. But you know, I love somebody said, you know, stop saying we're all in this together, because we're not all in this together, because we're all in the same storm, but everybody's boat looks different.
Very different. Very,
right?
Very. Some people have become homeless. Some people have moved in with, you know, other loved ones. Some people, you know, again, they're in shelters, you know, not just here in Los Angeles, but other places around the world. And some people are on the streets because of all this happening. And then there's the people who are lifestyles, the rich and famous, and they're living on their yachts. And, you know, they've decided to go to, you know, the Caribbean during this time. So it is very different. Yes, we're all in the same storm. That's a great way to put it. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because, you know, you hear that a lot on the news. Oh, we're all in this together. You're absolutely right, Shannon. We are all on the same, isolation, quarantine journey, but our paths, our roads have been very, very different. And if you're in the special needs community and you have a young one, unlike you and I, where our kids are, you know, older and more regulated, I can't even imagine. I'll tell you right now, my COO, Gail Field, her son is still younger. And in the state of Florida, ABA therapists will not go to a child's home. They're not even doing teletherapy there. It makes me sick. So here I'm watching her son and her struggle so hard as he's regressing. I mean, this is what, again, the world doesn't see, the regression. I mean, I'm looking at the whole world right now. Whoever's watching this show, I feel your pain. I see it. I know what you guys are going through, and it's awful. But, you know, hang in there. You know, we're almost at the end of it. But I just can't believe, here we got the huge state of Florida, and they won't do teletherapy with kids for behavior issues? I mean, what the heck? Gabriel's had 2 computers open every day. Can't believe this kid's on, 8 hours a day, of school. I can't believe they're doing that to him. It's been very tough. But
he's hanging?
Oh, he's hanging. He's got one computer up, with his companion on it. He's got the other computer up with his class. She's in the class. And he's doing OT, on, the computer. And guess what? My 12-year-old learned how to cook. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I think if we never had this quarantine, he would have never learned these things, these life skills. So again, those of you out there, if your state or your city is still not offering that, please, email in and ask us, and we can give you great tools and videos to help, because this stinks. I just, like I said, I look at who is just, again, my right hand in this company, Gail, and I think, I can't imagine. I can't imagine having still a little one with severe behaviors, regressing and out of their routine. Again, as you said, we're all in this, in this isolation together, but very, very differently, very differently.
Wow. Well, so now we are hearing rumblings in different states about opening. Some states have already opened back up and others are getting ready to. What is your timeline to reopen, Dina?
Well, we're living in the same nearby area, you and I, so we know it's around the corner. Looks like the 15th for us. But, the great thing, and I'm telling also the other owners who are going, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I think we're more nervous about the outside public, and I remind them, you're just going to keep doing what you're already doing. That's the great thing. We've already have these safety precautions in place. It's nothing new. Now, what I want my owners to do is tell their world and their community what we're doing. So that's what we're taking time to this next 2 weeks, as again, their states or their county or city reopens, is letting them know, you know what, this is what we're doing. It's safe. You can come back into We Rock. We are doing it safely. We're definitely promoting, I would say, regarding birthday parties and gatherings, drop off. We don't want the parents in the gym. No offense, love you, but we're now, really changing our model, our business model, now to drop off. And the public's appreciative of it. It's getting a huge, huge response. They're appreciative. They're still nervous, but again, we can't say we're 100%, foolproof. We're not, but we're going to do our best. We're going to continue doing our best.
That's right. Absolutely right. So, and you mentioned that I can't believe your son is doing 8 hours a day. Like, I'm not hearing anybody else doing that, but I want to know, like, personally in your family, how everybody's doing and coping, and if you have any tips or tricks for how you guys, because I keep saying that there's such a difference, even in our household. You know, I'm working more hours than I've ever worked. And so, you know, to the point where I've had to say, I got to slow down a little bit because I don't want to miss this time with my son, you know, and he's busy. My kid is busy and he's happy as a clam, but he's only having school like 2 hours a day.
Ugh, I wish.
Yeah. So, well, you know, but he's got other projects that he's doing. But my husband, on the other hand, is, you know, furloughed. And so he has occasional stuff, like he's doing some voiceover stuff from time to time, but he's, you know, he's Mr. Leisure.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, we haven't had that in our house, I will tell you.
Really?
I'd say the most leisure in our household is my daughter, Sophia, who, like your son, has school a couple hours a day and that's it. But it's interesting. Guess what? She now is in on Gabriel's OT sessions. She, this morning, I'm not kidding you, I have a video of it, is flipping crepes. She's making crepes, okay, for the whole family. My daughter wouldn't even go near a stove. She had a phobia. Okay, mommy was cooking her low carb tortillas on the stove, okay, about 5 years ago, and they all caught on fire, okay, and she's like, PTSD, mommy. All of a sudden, Gabriel is having OT via the computer. He's in the kitchen. He's making like this tenderloin, and he's cooking, and you know, Sophia admitted it this morning. She goes, you know, I got jealous, mommy. I heard you, you know, yes, I love that my almost 16-year-old still calls me mommy. I got jealous that Gabriel was getting all this attention and kudos of cooking. So I started and I said, and look at this. If we never had this quarantine, you would not be making breakfast for everybody.
That's
so
awesome.
Listen, my husband has been lucky. Okay. You know, right now he still has his shows, you know, like your husband, he's in the industry. He does sound for TV and film, but guess what? Everything stopped filming. So a month or two from now, he's not going to have a show, okay, for several months until they, you know, start filming again. Me, myself, listen, yes, I have so much more time with my kids, but I've also had to do what you're doing. You're supporting your community out there in the world, and I'm supporting, you know, mine, and as well as being, you know, really 10 times over more supportive as a corporate team. I couldn't do this without my corporate team. My team has been amazing. We have half of us on Zoom, okay, and half of us, you know, here. I'm like, okay, you guys can all still stay on payroll, but you know what? You got to be on Zoom, okay? We need to all work together because we need that. We need to support one another. You know, we're dealing.
But how are you managing all? Because honestly, Dina, you know, like between working and there's all the things for the household, and there's, you know, the ordering the groceries. Like, how are you getting all that done?
Thank God for Amazon Fresh. Okay, literally, last night I was here at the office, and everyone texted me their, you know, their order, and there I am. I'm on the computer, and I, you know, wake up this morning, and there's my husband who's up early doing exercise. I mean, my husband's in the best shape of his life. Everyone else is gaining weight. Okay, I seem to be hanging in there myself, but everyone, you know, else is gaining weight, and he's getting in the best shape of his life because all he has time to do, right, is run and exercise. But there he is unloading, you know, 20 bags of groceries this morning. You know, I'm utilizing what the world's given us out there. You know, we're really trying to support our local, you know, restaurants and businesses. Our oven has been broken during this whole quarantine. No oven, but Gabriel in one of his OT sessions learned how to use the barbecue. So we've been basically barbecuing 5 days a week. Okay. And that's been great. But listen, it hasn't been easy. You know, I have a daughter who has a great deal of anxiety as well. You know, we needed to bring in some help. So I'm seeking help too. Listen, I'd say the best leaders out there, you know, empower those who are around her. And, you know, I reach out for help. When I needed, I reach out for help, and we did. So
such a good role model.
Well, it took time. Listen, it takes time. It's not easy, like you said, for any of us. Listen, it's all relative. We're blessed. We have a roof over our head, and you know we're very lucky. But of course, the revenue stream stops as a franchise. If you know no one's paying for their kiddos to come in, the franchise revenue has stopped. But you know what? We're okay. We're doing okay. Like I said, we brought on a couple new owners, and I'm telling you, by the grace of God, you know, the world out there actually sees that, you know what, this business is going to continue on. Matter of fact, we're going to be the place where people want to go to, you know, because they know that we're going to take care of their kiddos. But like you, Shannon, the balance isn't always easy. You know, we do our best, right? We do our best. We can't say we're doing a great job. We're doing our best.
But you look great and you sound great, and what you're doing is amazing. And you know, I can't wait to hear what you do next, because it's always something with you, Dina Kimmel.
Well, it's you. Your show continuing on via Zoom.
Yeah. And we've been doing extra shows at sometimes public and sometimes for a private audience, but we, yes, we've been busy. I mean, like, how can you not be in this community? But as we move back to opening up, and as you are reopening gyms and all of those things, and we hope that eventually we're going to get back to a place where we don't have to have tape on the floor and we don't have to be, isolating from each other. And you mentioned you got a whole bunch in the work. Where are you getting ready to open, or can you even say, is it a state secret?
No, it's not a state secret. Listen, the state of Texas, the state of Florida, the state of California, many of them, Illinois, they're lifting right now. But again, my friend,
I meant the new gyms.
Oh, the new gyms. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Because, the person from Scotland said, I'm so enjoying this, even though we're living in the UK, but you just said Ireland. That you're getting ready to open in Ireland. And do you have any in the UK? You certainly could.
No, we need more locations in the UK, and the UK is about to blow up because, again, this new partnership that I told you that's come on board, that they're bringing on really 100 new locations. That includes buses as well. The UK is definitely going to be a place where we're going to be. So hello, Scotland out there. We're coming your way. In the meantime, take a quick flight over to Ireland. We've got Mecca and Anil, our owners there, are amazing. They've been going Facebook Live, even though their doors aren't open yet. They're securing their location. But yes, we're really excited. We're really excited. We also have, as you know, in Canada and Saudi is another new state that we just brought on. We're really excited because the resources there are so limited. And so truly the need there is great. But again, we brought on a new state in Massachusetts. We're very excited to be adding a WeRock there. And it's interesting. I remember being interviewed like 5 years ago, and it was right when I was opening up and becoming a franchise. And the person, I think it was the Franchise Times magazine, and she said, so, well, what's your goal? What's your 5-year goal? And I said, well, my 5-year goal would be, if we could go international. And, I hit that goal after just under 3 years. It was amazing. And their next question was, well, when are you going to stop? So when are you done? I said, when am I going to stop? Okay. I'm never going to stop. A WeRock is needed wherever there's a community. So this is ongoing. This has now become the franchise that's needed, for children. And I don't even consider this a business, Shannon. This is the love of my life. This is the love of my life. I've got a very supportive husband who says, you are the richest, poorest person I know. You put every dollar you make, Dina, back into the company to helping, your owners be as successful as they can be, or doing what you're doing. The nonprofit is being funded by my incredible husband, and I. And so really, all these first responders, it's been on us, and my other board member who I'm so grateful for. And we're just proud. We know that paying it forward is the right thing to do.
Well, you should be proud. You're doing a lot of really good things. Somebody wrote in, well, first of all, Dana wrote in and said hello to us. We love Dana.
Hello, Dana.
And somebody wrote in and said that they shared, their closest gym is apparently a little far away, but they shared it to help out friends that are close by, but that they would like to see one in Portland, Oregon.
I would love to be in Portland. So I lived not too far from there a couple years ago, 25 years ago. Oh my God. I just hit the big 50. So I'm having I just, I don't feel 50. Well, some days I do, but anyway, I really don't. But I lived there 25 years ago and I love that area. We definitely need one in Portland. So if you're not the person, put the word out there. We need you. It could be you.
That's right. That's right. And one of the things that I love, when everything is whatever the new normal, when we get back to whatever we're getting back to, I have loved the gyms for so many reasons. It's a great place. I mean, all the things that you guys are asking for right now, it's all of those things. You guys are asking for, I need something to do with my kids, right? And I need something to do on a day when the weather is inappropriate, whether that's that it's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining or whatever, right? You need something to take the kids to do. And you don't want it to be super expensive. And you don't, like, I've taken my kid to Chuck E. Cheese before, right? And you spend 10 minutes and you're already out $25 and you haven't accomplished anything. And your kid isn't any the richer for having been there. They haven't had an experience that's going to help them in their life, right? And it's like, boom, right? But at the WeRock, the Spectrum Kids gyms, First of all, your kids are working out their yayas, which means they're going to sleep better. You're going to have a better life that night. And your kids are growing muscles and they're learning skills, really wonderful skills.
Absolutely.
You know, when we think about all that fine motor and gross motor stuff, that has to be worked out. It's not like you just give a kid an exercise to do once and you're like, well, great. That's like me going to the gym once and going, all right, why am I not thin? Right? I still haven't figured that equation. But what it also does right now, Dina, we've got so many parents that are writing in and saying, I just need a break. I just need a break. I just need an hour where I'm not responsible for their every need.
Come to it. We rock the spectrum. You know, now more than ever, please know, you know, out there that you can, you know, just drop off your kids, because that's the thing. The gyms, you know, let this be a great thing to worry about. But I said to them, I said, you guys are going to have to take reservations. I said, because again, there cannot be more than 10 people, even after we open. I put in strict guidelines until we see that there is at least an antiviral out. I mean, yes, you know, we've got some hopeful drugs that are assisting, but we're limiting our capacity, you know, one person per 150 square feet. That's our rule as a franchise.
That's a good rule.
Yeah. So really, please bring your kids to us, drop them off, go to the restaurant that is allowing 25%, you know, capacity, and go have a date with your husband. I'll tell you, this is either made or break. I know, as you and I will both say, many relationships, marriages, you know, partnerships or what have you. I'm very grateful. You know, I've survived my husband being home for the last 2 months. God bless you. I love you out there. You know, Kimmel, he's putting a new air conditioning unit in our home right now. Can you imagine? The air went out with 100-degree weather.
Stop.
Yeah, no, I'm
your
not
stove and your air conditioner.
Yes,
My goodness, girl.
And my husband's been much more, even though I'm the one with the compromised immune system, he's been the one who's, you know, much more, you know, concerned and careful, and basically putting me in this little bubble. And he won't let someone come in to fix our oven. And just recently, you know, today he finally let someone come with the air conditioning, because both of our kids slept in our room last night, because thankfully that's got its own unit. So there we were, we're schwitzing, we're sweating. I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. But I really put things into perspective. There are people who have lost their lives out there. And I want to tell all of you who are watching, please, my heart, my compassion goes to you guys to not be able to be there with your loved ones on those last minutes. I can't even fathom what all of, you know, the world out there has gone through. I can't. And that's what breaks my heart. I just continue to pray every day for those families who have lost loved ones and have not been able to be there in those last moments. You know, my next door neighbor 2 weeks ago had a stroke. Her husband has not been able to go there. Okay. She's nonverbal now, not speaking. I mean, I just, again, what we have going on in my house is this big. Right. I'm going to continue to focus on others, as do you, and try and make a difference every day.
It's hard. I mean, it's and as we said, everybody's load has been different. But I gotta say, I don't think it's been easy for anybody, but infinitely harder for other people. But I really want to encourage people to find out more about the We Rock near you, and if there isn't one near you, you know, that's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? It's a quality problem. My husband and I talk all the time about. I'm a great one for sitting back and letting somebody else do something. Like if I go to a PTA meeting or something like that, and they say, well, we need somebody to run this, I'm never the person who goes, oh, me. I'll sit, because I make somebody I'm a very good member of the team. If somebody says, I really want to do that, I'm happy to be on your team. I don't need to be the boss of everything. But if I sit and I wait and I see that nobody is doing it, I will jump in with both feet. So maybe you're sitting there and you're like, I'm hoping that somebody else will open up the gym. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's you that's supposed to do it. So if you've been waiting and it's not happening, perhaps it's the thing to do. And they can reach out to you at the, say it again, because letters, you know, I know it stands for We Rock the Spectrum, but what it is,
franchise.com. And again, you know, I'm telling you know, you already know this, Shannon, everyone out there, we're not the typical franchise. We don't give you a handbook and say, here, run your business. We are there every single step of the way to helping you, you know, find your location or build out your fit out for your bus. And we don't leave you, you know, we don't leave you. Even after and you say you don't need us, we're still checking on you minimum once a week. How are you doing? What can we do? We fly, I fly out my team. Just sometimes people just need that support. So this is different. We're a family. Everyone says, oh, are you gonna, sell the franchise off to somebody? So I'm like, no, this started because of, little Rock Boy. This is actually a little mold of Gabriel at 2.5 years old. And we're not going anywhere. And again, anyone that comes in our franchise, we treat like family.
Well, and it is like a big family. The word I was using was tribe, because I've been there before when you've had all your franchise or most of them together, and to have a get together and a party. And they're a great group of people. My goodness, I've never met people with bigger hearts, and they all look up to you. That's why they call you Mama D, because you take care of everybody. And
they're my heroes.
You're amazing. And when people have asked me, many years ago, I had this idea that I wanted to do this sensitive Santa thing, and I knew I couldn't do it without you. And she was the first person I ran to, and I said, look, I've got this idea of something that I want to do. And so we've been doing the sensitive Santa. We've lost track of whether it's 5 years or 6 years or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
But we do that at her flagship location. But it's all like, it's such a great event in that the families that we get to meet every year, and some of them have been there every single year. This last year, we had that one dad that I think decimated both of us, that we could remember when he came in with his little, and that little kid wasn't able to go up to Santa, wasn't able to do anything. But this time, walked right in there, and he was like, Santa, I'm back. And the dad was just weeping. You and I were weeping. It was absolutely amazing. But I gotta say, there's lots of sensitive Santa events all over the country now. But I've gotta say, I do think that the reason why that event is so special is not because we give away, $100,000 worth of free toys, although that makes it fun. But it's because it's at the gym. And the thing that works about our sensitive Santa is that the kids aren't waiting in line, they're playing.
They're playing. It's you and your family and team also, Shannon.
No, I really disagree. It's because it's at the gym, and because other sensitive Santas, the kids still have to wait in line to see Santa. And that's the part that doesn't work. That's the part that makes it so that when you finally get in to be with Santa, that you're already set up for not the most success. The kids are anxious, they're sensory overload, and you only have that 1 minute to get it right and to take pictures and do whatever. Whereas at your gym, they get to come in and see Santa after playing. And if it doesn't have the hearts and rainbows and the flowers on it that first time, they get to go play again. And then they get to come back later on in the hour.
But let me tell you also, though, you have the Santa that goes to the car if needed. You have the Santa who will go to the person in the wheelchair sitting out in front of the gym and give them a present, and let them, if they're nonverbal, verbal, whatever it is, let them express, their gratitude and pleasure for seeing Santa Claus maybe for the first time ever. So it really is the Santa. We're a great team. We're a great team. You and
wow. Yes, I will admit to you, we have the best Santa. He's pretty awesome. And I love him like nobody's business. But anyway, we're running out of time here. So Dina, what have we not talked about that we need to tell people? Because we got about 3.5 minutes. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I feel like this is a time, I've spoken to a lot of families, one-on-one, who have needed the support. I feel like this is really, truly a time to make sure that you have your fears versus facts, right? Okay. For as you reopen in your city, in your area, fear is absolutely debilitating. Okay. Focus on not having that word in your life. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to have concerns over what happens next, but get the right information. Get the right information out there, or you are going to be sitting in your home, okay, for the next 3 months, and you don't need to be. So really, I want to get that out there to the world that, you know what, yes, we're all scared. We're all scared of this virus that there's still not a vaccine for. But you know what, if you do things smartly, if you need help, if you want advice on how to do it, please reach out to us. Email in at info@wrtsfranchise.com. Someone will get back to you within an hour. Okay, so please, again, remember that fear is debilitating. Okay, it's debilitating so many people out there right now. Okay, they are so scared, and it breaks my heart because I know what fear has done in my life, you know, in many decades ago, and it keeps you stuck. It's time to move forward, all of us. Again, it's got to be at your pace. You need to do it smartly. You need to wear your mask, even though your city says that you don't need to do it. Okay, again, not just to protect yourself, but to protect others. And reach out for help. That's what I want to tell everyone. You know, reach out for help. You're not alone in this. Okay, you're not. And we just so happen to be, okay, a great mission to where that's what we do. We're here to help people. We're here to help families. You don't have to have a special needs child for us to be there for you as a company. We have many different locations. Any one of our franchisees, our owners, will do exactly what I will do for the community. So if you don't have a re-rock in your area, reach out to us and me personally. I will hop on Zoom for you in a second and help you through it, or we will give you the tools what you need.
There you go. And I just want to put in a plug for the Rock on the Spectrum with Dina. You know, go there. Right now you were saying it's free, Dina, but even when it's the $9.99 a month, when you think about, there are many of you that, you know, for instance, tune in to watch this and you want more. And I'm not available to give you more. Imagine being able to have endless amounts of Dina. Plus, Dina even has, you have the ability to, just like you can get the gym for an hour, or you can get the portable, what do you call it? The mobile gym, the bus for an hour or 2 hours and rent it. There's a very affordable way that you can get an hour of Dina's time and to be sitting and having a conversation about whatever you want with Dina, which is invaluable. And I know that, you know, for some of you, you're like, I just need more, and that's available to you if that's something that you're really interested in. So where do they go to find that, Dina?
Thank you, Shannon. It's rockingthespectrum.com. And again, as you said, you know, right now I'm just donating all my time. And I will be for a while, for many months, until, like I said, until we have a antiviral, a vaccine. I'm donating my time to the world and community. That's what we're about, because you know what? I wish I had that. Matter of fact, you know, that's how Rocking the Spectrum started. I was going to all different places to trying to find those resources. If I could have had this one spot like Rocking the Spectrum, okay, to go to, it would have made things so much easier. You know, I didn't know you back then, okay, when my son was first diagnosed. There were those first couple people who told me about the, you know, movie theaters with the sensitive lights and these, you know, gluten-free, which my son, you know, needed to be gluten-free, as I know your son as well. So I'm honored to be able to be that person. So let me help you. You know, I want to tell the public, let me be there for you guys. Let me and my team be there for you.
You're amazing. And I can't imagine anybody better to feature in this week of Mother's Day. I hope that you have an amazing Mother's Day. I hope you get to take some time off and just feel the love of your kiddos who think that the sun rises and sets in you. They are so lucky to have you for a mom. And we just appreciate you so much. Check out We Rock the Spectrum and check out Rockin' the Spectrum with Dina, and write to her because she's a pretty amazing person. I just adore you.
I adore you. You're going to make me cry, but thank you.
Mutual admiration society here. But honestly, have so much respect for you and just adore you. And I do want to be you when I grow up. Even though you are significantly younger than me, I still want to be you when I grow up. But love you. Please give everybody there, because I love your whole staff too. You have good people. Good people attract good people. And I will talk to you. Oh, hey, would you do me a favor? I want to know, I want to be connected with your cleaning, the person who did the cleaning thing.
Oh, you mean your
spray,
the brand that we use?
Yes. Okay. So will you connect me?
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I'll
connect anyone else. Again, okay. Right in, we'll let you know where to go and where to purchase everything. We want to share that with people, because that's the only way to keep this out of your business.
Absolutely. I want to share it with my son's school. So there we go.
Good.
All right. Thank you. Love you so. Hey guys, tomorrow we have this crazy, crazy show where we've got so many different things. We're going to be featuring, of course, Nancy will be here for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We're going to be featuring Spectrum Labs. They've got a new film that's going to be out in film festivals that they want to talk about, with some new distance things that they're going to, projects that they're going to be doing that you guys will love to hear about. We've got our autism expert, Hitomi Wada, is going to be with us answering some questions that you guys have sent in. And then we have an amazing mother-son team. Son is on the spectrum. He's a beautiful singer, and he's going to be here with his mom for us to celebrate Mother's Day. So that's going to be wonderful.
That's great.
Until tomorrow. Give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Thank you so much, Dina. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Going to play the Let's Talk Autism Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy opening, but so I'm caught a little off guard. Good morning, Nancy. Unmute yourself because we're here with you.
Yeah. Good morning. This is our open.
This is our open, and we don't have time today because we're jamming things in today. We've got a big show here, and you can see we've got a very special guest who's got a really cool background. You're gonna. We tried to do a really cool background at one point, and then we let it go. But you're better at these things than we are, Jason. So Nancy and I we didn't have you on the schedule because this was Mother's Day weekend, but you reached out to me and said, Shannon, I got a big deal going on right now. So first of all, introduce yourself to everyone and tell us why we had to make time for you this morning.
Hey, Shannon. Hey, Nancy. Thanks for having me on at such late notice. I'm Jason Weissbrod. I'm the co-founder of Spectrum Laboratory, that is our logo. Our website is speclabs.org. We teach film, music, animation, and all different types of things with the neurodivergent and autistic youth. We have age ranges from 8 to 35, I think is our oldest student now.
Wow.
So we're kind of teaching all ages, but you can learn all about our program on our website at speclabs.org. But today I have a really special announcement. Last year we filmed our first really professional short film called Boys Don't Wear Dresses. And it's a film that is written by myself with one of my longtime students, a really great friend of mine, as well as a Spec Labs artist, Alani Shorin, who, when I first met Alani, went by the name of Steven. And Steven went through a transition for a long period, first coming out as gay, and then later on, while we were writing this script for this short film together, just told me that Steven was now wanted to be called Alani and was now transgender and wanted to live a more fulfilling life as her real self. So we wrote a film about it called Boys Don't Wear Dresses, and it's screening tomorrow night at the Translations Seattle Transgender Film Festival, which is the largest transgender film festival in the world. And because of what we're all dealing with being at home, it's going to be online. and they're making it available for anybody to see. So tickets are free. But I highly recommend that you guys support the festival. So there's a sliding scale ticket price. So you can pay 5, 10, 15, 20. But if you can't afford it, they're making it free as well. And that's a lot of information, but this is our poster that you guys are seeing. Boys Don't Wear Dresses, that the amazing Danny Bowman created, which you, Shannon, you know Danny. We all love Danny so much.
Yeah, we all love Danny.
We see some familiar faces there, poster. Jason.
What's that?
Yes.
We see some familiar faces there on that poster.
So like in our film, besides Alani, and me writing it, we then had to get together a whole crew. So we hired professional cinematographers and camera people, as well as a bunch of my students I hired and actually paid to work on the film, which is amazing, and the actors. So all the actors got paid. There's Spencer Hart, who is a longtime friend of your show.
Yeah.
And then Liv Brazil is on the right, which is another very interesting story, because Liv we all knew as Jack, and Jack has now transitioned into Liv. And this happened kind of while we were filming. So it was this very beautiful, all these beautiful magical things were happening during this filming. And then of course we got some amazing celebrity guests. We got Tom Kenny all the way there on the edge, who is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Amazing.
To be a part of our film, which is amazing. And then the biggest dream come true. I mean, SpongeBob was already like a major dream come true for us. I've loved Tom Kenny like my whole life. I've been obsessed with Tom ever since he was on Mr. Show. But then Alani and I wrote the part of the stepmom with Alexandra Billings from Transparent in mind for the part. And we have an amazing casting director, Rose, who reached out to her and she said yes. And so we got Alexandra Billings from Transparent to play the lead character's stepmom. And our lead, Brandon Rodriguez from Spec Labs, is in the middle there. He's the one holding up the Cinderella dress. And then Danny Bowman did a whole bunch of animations on the film. All these little animated characters you see were from Danny Bowman's creation, when some of our animators from Spec Labs, Faith Butterfield, Shane McCaskill, Bella DiOrio, also worked on the film, and Amos Stills. So we got our whole crew, our whole Spec Labs crew really bonded together over this movie. And I'm insanely proud of it. It turned out beautiful, and it's screening for the first time for people to see it tomorrow night.
Okay, where do we have to go to watch it?
So you can either search Translations, Seattle Transgender Film Festival online. There's no like easy link, but if you go to our Spectrum Laboratory Facebook page or go to speclabs.org, you'll be able to find the links to get tickets. Okay. But all you have to do is type in Translations, Seattle Transgender Film Fest. And we are screening tomorrow night at 6:15 p.m. during a short film block. So this is a short film. The short film block is from 6:15 to 7:45 p.m. So it's an hour and a half short film block. They didn't let me know when we're screening in that block. So you just have to get a ticket for it's called the Joy and Catharsis short film block. And that's at 15 p.m. tomorrow night.
I'm taking notes so that I will.
Yeah.
Now, and we have to make sure that we let people know that is 6:15 Pacific time.
Pacific time, yes, correct.
So if you're going to want to watch on the East Coast, you need to be tuning in at 9:15. At Central Time, 8:15, Mountain Time, 7:15. Because I know that's that time thing already has messed us up today once. So I just want to make sure that people know where to find it, because, I got to be honest. So often, Jason, we talk about things on the show and like a film or something, and people are like, well, when can we see it? I don't live in Atwater Village, Los Angeles, where it's screening or wherever it is. And we say, well, and then it's like a year before they can watch it on some service. So this is it, you guys. Congratulations.
We'll have more screenings, but I mean, this is our first kind of time we're showing it to the world. So and anybody can watch it. I believe there's going to be captions for the hearing impaired, and for I worked on it. I hope they figured it out and got it on there. So hopefully there's captions for it so everybody can watch. And and the other really cool surprise is I wanted to give a big shout out to Jill Hart, Spencer's mom, for getting us our amazing narrator. This is a very Cinderella-esque fairy tale type story. So it's for all ages. We're kind of took a PG approach to the topic of being an autistic transgender individual. So it's told through a narrative voice, like a fairy tale. We got Carol Kane to voice the narration on the film from Princess Bride and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And that was because of Jill Hart, who is friends with her. So thank you, Jill, I love you. And Carol was amazing. Tom Kenny was amazing. Alex Billings, all the celebrities that attached were like, it was like a meant to be thing. They were all just incredible. There was a reason they were a part of it. They're all just had beautiful hearts. And then everybody else you see on screen is from Spec Labs, which is really awesome.
Absolutely amazing.
Our students are all over the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason, tell us a little bit more about the storyline. You told us the history.
Sure, yeah.
About the film.
So it really follows the story of Alon, this guy who's going to college. He's living with his stepmom. It follows the Cinderella story where he lost his father at a young age, and he's growing up with his stepmom. And at a young age, I don't want to give away too much, but he had a traumatic experience where he was told boys don't wear dresses. And so as a literal brain that he is growing up, and he always thought that boys just don't do that. And he was not around that type of living environment. It wasn't acceptable. It wasn't for him. So it wasn't.
And this young man is on the spectrum?
This young man is on the spectrum. Yeah. And as he grows up, this film is kind of about a day where he comes to terms with the fact that maybe it is okay for boys to wear dresses, and maybe it's time for me to share my story, and it's time for me to tell, who I really feel like inside. And so it's, and it really is based on and inspired by Alani Shorin, who I wrote that we did a mentorship together, and we just sat down and started writing. And it was the first scene that we started writing was between a professor and a student. And then, 2 years later, Tom Kenny is playing me in the movie as the professor for Alani, for Brandon, who's playing Alani in the movie. And it was truly a dream come true. So it's a kind of a day in the life following, this day at college for this student, meeting a friend and being experienced to a theater program at a college that kind of will change the course of this young autistic transgender individual's life.
And I didn't realize before, you started making this film and there were conversations about it that, obviously people who are on the autism spectrum are just like everybody else. There are folks that identify as being heterosexual. There are folks who identify as being everything on the rainbow of the LGBTQ, all the initials there, right? But I didn't realize the high prevalence in the autism community, and I've been told, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, that there is a higher prevalence of being transgender in the autism community. Is that true?
I can't say yes or no, but I definitely know that there are a lot of, I don't even know how you would say it, but confused or unspoken people within the autism community that may not know their gender identity or are struggling with it. But I think that I have noticed that there is a lot of gender confusion, and it's not talked about at all. It really isn't. And so one of the goals of our film, and that's really because of Alani and her parents, Linda and Len, who are unbelievable, about getting this out there so we can start a conversation. So if someone who is autistic watches this movie and then goes, you know what, I actually like wearing dresses, it might start that conversation. So that I think is why the movie was made. I don't know really statistics. I'm the director and writer, and I learned from Alani and Linda and other people I know who are autistic and transgender. And I think there is quite a lot of people who are either gay or transgender or queer or fall into that LGBTQIA category that, don't feel like they have a voice to really express that. So, yeah.
And it's important that we give everybody gets a voice. Yeah. Everybody gets a say. And I think for parents watching this film may help them to understand, because I think that anytime that your child is having trouble conveying who they are to you, right? For whatever reason, that's difficult for the parent. Because it's difficult for us because we want our child to be able to communicate. And it's difficult for us because it's what we always hoped we would have, is a child who can communicate with us. But it's when it's these kinds of issues, there may be parents out there who, you know, really are struggling and not knowing what's going on with their kiddo. And maybe this will help them too, Jason.
Yeah.
Get a little more acceptance, a little bit more knowledge. Knowing you guys and the people involved, I would guess that there's a fair amount of humor in it as well.
Yeah, it's a lighthearted feel. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there on, you know, autism, transgender, that are very like for the adult world, and this is more, you know, like my little 6-year-old niece is in the film, and it's a very like, you know, and one of our 9-year-old autistic students plays a young version of Alon in it. So it's a very family-friendly way of introducing these topics, and also like making it more of a norm. Like these stories should be Disney fantasy stories told, and it shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be controversial. It should just be.
Absolutely. But I think our community has struggled to talk about sexuality, period. You know, and sexuality and how you identify, those are two entirely different things. I don't think we've really forayed into there. So I'm so proud of you that you're going there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of interesting conversations off of this film, I'm sure. Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully it can help bring some families together over some of these topics that maybe they haven't been really, you know, comfortable to talk about.
Yes. So tomorrow night, Saturday, 6:15 Pacific time, y'all.
Yes.
And tell us again, translations.
Yeah, it's called the Translations. This is the Seattle Transgender Film Festival. And like I said, tickets are on a sliding scale. Pay whatever you can, whether it's you can't give anything or you can give a lot. And also, for Spectrum Laboratory at our website, speclabs.org, you can contact us, you can talk to us, you can write us on there, you can find out the information on our Facebook page. And last little plug, we have an amazing digital storytelling camp coming up this summer, where we're offering it to anybody in the United States between the ages of 8 and 22. We're in contract with the VSA, the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. They're helping us out, helping with scholarshiping some students for this and helping us get this thing started. So if anybody is interested in films, music, animation, want to be a part of the Spectrum Laboratory team, we're actually expanding now because of this whole crazy world we're living in right now. It's kind of forced us into doing this, but it could be a good thing because now maybe we can reach people of other parts of the United States and eventually all around the world because of doing things online like this. So.
And when does that start, Jason?
We're actually starting right away. We're going right into it. So you can enroll right now online on speclabs.org /camp. It's our digital storytelling camp. It's under the classes section. And really anybody can sign up. Because even if you aren't 8 to 22, we're going to open it up to later, older than 22, like in September, October. So really anybody can join and be a part. And
is it like an independent study, or are you grouped with people in your age range? How does that work?
You're going to have each student will be paired with another student online with one mentor, and the mentor, like myself, will probably have a shadow or an assistant. And we're going to do 5 different 90-minute mentorship sessions where they're going to get to create their own little video about transforming themselves into their better, a magical being. So whether it's not, the example I always use is like Peter Parker was at home, got bit by a spider, turned into Spider-Man and helped save the world. So we're going to help our students figure out their voice, what their passion is, and how to transform their passion into like a superhero, magical self of them. So if anybody out there is interested, you can come to our website and check out we'll be running it for months and months, this digital storytelling camp online.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're up to some really great things. You certainly haven't let this pandemic slow you down, have you?
We can. I got to say, upbeat and positive. I can't just sit around. I'll
right.
So I just got to keep busy and try to bring some positivity into this time. So that's.
I love that it's forced you to do what really you needed to do all along. Which I think you were going to get to.
People are emailing us from, wherever, Jacksonville, and being like, "Do you have this here?" So now we actually have the
now you do
built, and now we do. So
now you do, because the universe said, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to." And look, I'm all about, let's take whatever positives we can, and if that's one of the positives, I'm good with that. Because now you are going to reach more people, and it's just a thing where you're just going to have to make the time to, and that you could do it. It was just inconvenient, and now it's the only game in town. So I'm proud of you that you're doing it.
Do it, but it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, but I know you guys, if anybody can do it, you guys can do it. We're so proud to know you. I saw that Garth also did the music on it. You guys are so talented. Since you're here, I'm going to make a brief announcement, but Traven, let me know as soon as our next guest is here, because we're already over. But I'm so proud of this, that we commissioned Spec Labs to do new music for Autism Live. So you're going to see, we were going to debut it already, but we haven't had a chance to.
Yeah.
You're going to see new music coming in, being used on Autism Live, and we commissioned Spec Labs and their students to make that music for us. I am so proud of that. And that we had the opportunity to do that before this whole mess started. And we're really excited about what you guys made for us.
Well, great. Yeah. That's another thing. Garth and his whole music team. Garth is like the co-founder of Spectrum Laboratory. We have a bromance going on, Garth and I. Garth's music, for this film, a lot of the same people worked on the music for years. Lucas Zaluski and Atticus J. Cowger and John McRae, and they all, so a lot of the music in Spectrum Laboratory, Garth was, of course, the conductor and the composer of it all, but we got all of our students, a bunch of our students, to be a part of the music as well. There's a big choral singing part where we got a bunch of our students to sing, and, with Spencer and Atticus Baldwin and Abby Romeo, and it's fun. We just tried to really corral the whole team together for this movie. Boys Don't Wear Dresses, and we couldn't be prouder of it. And getting into this film, the last thing I'll say is getting into this Translation Seattle Transgender Film Fest is kind of like really a dream come true, because that's the exact audience. That's the film festival circuit is impossible. It's so hard to get into. Just to get into any film fest, and to get into this one means a lot to us. So thank you for taking the time to share that. Really hope you guys watch the movie. Please be in touch with us. Alani and her parents, Linda and Len, would really want to start conversations. So please go to speclabs.org and send us an email if you saw the movie. Write to us. Let us know your thoughts. We'll continue a conversation, and we all just
let's start a watch party. Let's make a watch party.
There's a watch party online too for this.
Cool.
So when you go to the website for translations, they have like a Facebook watch party or something like that for the film. So I'll be there.
Wonderful. Jason, thank you so much for coming and telling us about it, so that we can know. I'm going to be watching tomorrow, and hopefully Nancy and everybody else will have the opportunity to do that too. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you, Jason.
Can't wait to share with the world. Thank you so much.
Give our love to everybody.
Getting me into your schedule. Mwah, mwah.
Bye-bye.
Mwah, mwah. All right, take care.
Take care.
And Nancy and I are not going to miss a beat, because our next guest, we didn't even talk about how you guys could connect with us. Hopefully you guys know, but our next guest is already in the waiting room. Traven, if you could let her in. We like to feature on the show. Usually it's on Thursdays. We do Ask an Autism Expert. And I know, Nancy, you're not always here with us when we do that. But we ask, and generally we bring in a board certified behavior analyst, and we ask them a couple of questions that are of a genre that, it's like we take a bunch of questions that ask the same thing and sort of put them all together. Does that make sense? Or does that sound convoluted?
Makes sense. That makes sense.
So we have joining us today Hitomi Wada, who has been on the show before. Hitomi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So nice to see you guys' faces.
Coming to us from the comfort of your bedroom.
That's amazing. That sounds very comfortable.
Yeah. I see you in the same position.
Yes.
And And Hitomi, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and where you do it.
Sure. So I am a clinical manager designee at our San Mateo location in California. And I am basically in charge of just supporting all of the clinical teams. That includes other supervisors at the centers, therapist liaisons, and behavior technicians in the San Mateo Center.
Very cool. And so Hitomi, I'm sorry, we rearranged your schedule 18 times. So I'm glad you're finally here with us. The questions that we've got for you are predetermined. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw the first one at you. How can I get my child to play with more than just one kind of toy?
Sure. So I think the first thing is the motivation is really key in teaching any of our learners with any skills, and especially with play, right? Kids have their own agenda when they want to play with certain toys. So really starting with what they're currently playing with and then expanding from there, I feel like would be the most best way, effective way to teach our learners. So for example, I think the common challenge with our learners is, if they are really into Paw Patrol or some TV show and characters, it's really hard to expand from there. But if you can find things like puzzles or figurine toys, or even a board game that's within that theme, I think the learner is more likely to kind of expand and be more interested or more willing to try something new. I don't see Shannon anymore. Is she still?
I am still there.
Oh,
I just wanted to make more room. And
Gotcha.
I of course did not send the questions to Nancy, so I was feeling bad and I was going to text her one of the questions for her to ask.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So
Tony, I have a question. How do we know when the child is just stimming with a toy and doing repetitive behaviors as opposed to playing with the toy? And can we expand, even if they are doing repetitive behaviors, can we expand those to play?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes trying to find a context, the right context where this stimming or repetitive behavior can be more appropriate, I think would be the best approach. So for example, if the repetitive behavior, we can find a toy where it's meant to be, flapped or spun, I think that can make it a little bit better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
think of an example.
Like playing with a train or a truck with the wheels.
Sure. So that's a great example. So if the learner is spinning the wheel multiple times when we want them to kind of roll the toy, if we can find like a pinwheel or something where the toy is actually meant to be spun, and in having the learner engage with that in the moment, and then instructing them to roll the train, and just making sure that we're encouraging them to spin the pinwheel rather than the train, I think would probably be the best way. Again, making the behavior and putting it in a context that's more appropriate, I think would be best.
Wonderful. Our next question is, how can I get my child to stay in bed? Something that we all worry about and try to make happen.
For sure. And so this question, I think it's really difficult to answer, because I think it really depends on each client and what their needs are, what their motivation is, and how often, things like that. So my recommendation is just go straight to your BCBA, your supervisor, and really talking about the challenges in detail. And then they can really consult with you, but also getting other team members involved. Ruling out medical considerations is number one key here as well, and just making sure that the learner is not experiencing something internal where we can't really see. I think that's also critical in addressing this concern.
Wonderful. And our last question, I want my child to talk, but my ABA team is recommending PECS or an iPad for my 4-year-old. Does that mean that he will never speak, and are they giving up?
Yes. So that, I think this is a very common concern with a lot of our parents who have children that's not vocally speaking, but I'm sure a lot of parents have heard BCBA say there's abundance of research. Research shows that the pets using pictures to supplement their communication actually encourages vocal communication in the future. And so I think to reframe this, we're not saying that the pictures are going to replace their vocal communication. It's meant to supplement, it's meant to be as a cue and support for the learner to engage in communication.
Wonderful. Hitomi, thank you so much for answering our questions and being here with us. I don't know if you're willing. I have a viewer has written in a question, and I know that wasn't, we didn't send that to you, but are you willing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. They want to know, how can I get my adult autistic son to wear a mask? Completely refusing.
Very challenging for a lot of us at this time.
Oh, I can only imagine.
The sensory, lots of sensory issues with our kiddos with the mask.
Sure. And again, kind of going back to the motivation. Motivation is really key here. And some learners are not going to be motivated by the explanation of, well, if you don't wear a mask, there's a chance you're going to get sick. That's just a more abstract concept to grasp. So one idea that I would have is making the mask more appealing. So if we can make it more specific to that learner, whether it's their favorite color, it's got their favorite character on it. I encourage the families to get your child or adult more involved. Pull up options on your phone and say, which one do you want, so that they can be part of the process of selecting the mask as well. As far as the sensory goes, again, we don't want to put that high expectation of individuals to put on that mask overnight, right? It takes some time. So create small goals, right? We just want them to wear around their wrist. Maybe we just want them to hook it around the ear, take it off right away. Start small and celebrate those things in a really big way, because that's a big, big achievement. But if we can do that every day, maybe 3 times throughout the day, consistently, and then make sure you have that big, big reinforcer, right? Whatever motivates them, deliver it right after. Maybe we can make some progress for them to at least just put the whole thing on, or maybe even wear it for 5 minutes of the day.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for that, because I know I'm a sensory person, but I'm not on the spectrum. And I know how, like, the first day that I put one on, I had it on 30 seconds and I was like, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
This is not going to work out. I'm not going to be able to do this. And now I'm able to wear it for like a good solid 15 minutes. And I have friends that are, nurses and administrators who work in hospitals. And I've said to them, how did you, and they said, it really, after a time, it's just like, think about wearing your glasses, how hard it was to wear your glasses. And now your glasses, you don't notice when you have them on. Right. And that they honestly don't realize that they've got their mask on after 8 hours, because they are so used to it. So for sensory people, I agree with you, like working up to it, man, working up to it. Okay. I'm about 15 minutes now that I can do, but I did not think I was going to make it that far. So Hitomi, you are so amazing. And thank you for being so flexible with us and answering all of our questions. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend.
Yes, of course. Bye, guys. Stay safe.
Bye, Hitomi.
Bye-bye. Wonderful. So isn't she delightful?
She's delightful. Yeah. And, I know a lot of people are having issues with that mask situation. So that's good to know.
I got to tell you too, I had an allergic reaction, which is part of the reason why I'm having eye issues and, everything under the sun. So some of it is sensory in terms of just feeling like, I got to breathe through this thing. But it's also important to know what materials you're putting up against somebody's face. There's a lot of things to this.
Yeah.
But on a previous show, we talked about the fact, and I don't know whether it was Dr. Granpiche or somebody else who talked about the fact that, some of the masks have that filter in them, that N95 filter.
Right.
And that helps to filter out germs, so that if you're the person breathing, it's filtering out the germs. But that's not what's being required in most places, unless you're working in a hospital What they want you to do is to wear a mask, not to filter out germs, but to prevent you from having particulate go out. So who was it that was showing us the other day that they had one made out of a bathing suit material, and that you can have something very soft, or the bandanas. All of those are fine, because even as I'm talking right now, I'm somebody who over articulates, but there was just a spray that went on the computer. And that's what they're wanting people to cut down on, is talking and having their spit fly out. So don't feel like you have to have one of those ones that has the metal thing on the nose, because I had a total reaction to that. But I just want to say too, we have Nikki saying good morning. We had somebody who wrote in, and I got to stop to address this, Nancy. I don't know if you can see it. A gentleman wrote in and said, I have AS. In my younger days, I was mistaken for being gay. It was hard to ask a girl for a date. Romance comes hard for people on the spectrum, but I am living proof that it is not impossible. I am married for a second time. So there you go. And I really loved hearing that. Raquel says hello, and somebody sent us their song. I will listen to that later. They're saying hello from Ireland, from Northern Ireland. We love that. And somebody wrote in and said, I can't get my son to understand why we need masks to go out. He won't wear one and doesn't understand why his favorite places are closed, worried. When they reopen, how to get him to wear a mask or a hat or a shield. Nothing is working.
I had those same challenges. It's been very difficult for Wyatt to understand why school isn't open, why he can't go to stores. We have tried to tell him it's because of a virus, because of a sickness, but he doesn't understand why this is lasting so long.
Yeah, well, and so often when our kids and our adults on the autism spectrum don't understand something, I always go, do we understand it? I mean, this is hard for me to understand, when is this going to end, and what's happening? I don't think there's an adult that I know that completely understands everything that's happening. So what I want to bring up is to appreciate the reality of their feelings. I mean, Nancy, it reminds me of when your beloved husband passed away.
Right.
And so much of what we were all feeling, but we're adults, so we don't say it, right? But Wyatt would say, where is he?
Right. When is he coming back?
When is he coming back?
Right. And I don't want him to go to heaven, was his constant phrase.
Which, I gotta be honest, I was feeling all those same things.
Right. So was
I was wanting to know where. I was there with you, and I was like, so I have all my beliefs, right? But I don't know 100% for sure where the soul goes when it passes away.
Right. And it's so hard to explain that to a child. And this concept of the virus is very abstract and very hard for our kids. And beyond that, I mean, we're like, how do we get them to understand? We don't even understand. So I just want to say to everybody, maybe that's not the task, because it's very hard to explain something that's unexplainable, right? We're setting ourselves up for failure. I think instead, if we focus on making whatever is happening right now less anxious, so we can distract, right? And we can do that in a very healthy way by finding things that are very rewarding that are happening now. Even though they can't go to their favorite place, find something that you can only do right now. Is there something that they didn't get the opportunity to do? Something that, they were saying, I'd really like to do this, and we couldn't do it because we didn't have time in our busy schedules. Or make something new up. I have the family that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago in the first week of all this, and they were saying, I don't know what I'm going to do because I live in an apartment and we can't go to the park. The parks are closed. They live in New York City. And they were saying, and my kid is manding for grass. And one of our one of our experts said, make one of the rooms in your apartment a park. And they ordered the stuff that, it's not AstroTurf, but it's
so it's like grass,
Mhm.
rolled it out on a mat on the floor, like a grass mat, and turned the living room into the park for this time being, and made a paper tree and you know, did all this stuff. There are ways, if we're willing to accept what is, right? There are ways that we can make this reinforcing. It's individual to the kid or to the adult. But I think trying to solve how to get them to understand it, I think is an uphill climb.
Right.
And instead I would address the feeling and say, I know it's frustrating. And I know it's frustrating. I know that you're upset. I know that you would like to go to the school, but we can't, right? Just like you had to say, you know, I know you want daddy to come back and he can't.
Right.
Right. And,
Right.
and like, but how can you explain that? You can't.
Right.
So you have to do something else and say, you know, well, now we're going to go and we're going to paint something in daddy's memory. Right. Well, now, so, you know, we can't go to your favorite restaurant. So instead, you know, let's make your favorite meal. And it isn't going to be perfect. And they're not going to like it. But they will survive it, and it will help them in the end to be more flexible.
Right.
So,
We keep telling Wyatt he's learning to be flexible. And, you know, he's like, what's flexible? And I'm like, it's taking things easy.
yeah. And rewarding them for doing that. Because this is a skill that will be with them for the rest of their lives. We didn't choose this. We didn't want this, but we're here. So we might as well make the most of it and help them to gain a new skill. Okay, we have another question because our guests, I'm going to be honest, we have this wonderful mom and son duo that we were going to have on, and I'm hoping that they're still going to show up. But it's a young man who's on the autism spectrum, and he's a singer. His name is Reed Soria. And he and his mom, Joe, were going to be on with Nancy and I because we're trying to wind up our Mother's Day week. And so we were hoping to have them here and have Reed sing something. But they're on a different time zone. And the first thing when I got into my office this morning and opened up my computer was an email from Reed saying, I don't understand why you weren't there. We were there at 8:30 in the morning and you weren't there, because he's on Central Time. And so I had to send an email and say, no, you subtracted when you needed to add. We need to talk to you at 12:30. And so your time. And so I don't see them here. So they may or may not show up.
I hope they can make it, but we'll reschedule them if they don't.
Yes, we will. But in the meantime, until such time that they show up, I'm going to continue to address some of the questions with you, Nancy, that are here. So somebody wants to know, it just skipped for me. Sorry. How to make my child motivated for his studies. He's 6 years old, mild autistic. They just emailed. I'm going to ask, can they get on now? Hang on. So how to get somebody motivated to do their studies. Nancy, how do you get Wyatt motivated?
Well, he tends to like school and like the structure of it. So I think this is a much younger child, a 6-year-old. Once again, it's about making learning fun and making a reward for learning. So I would suggest figuring out a reward system for the child to learn and rewarding him upon that learning. Whatever their favorite things are, think of ways to make that possible. We do it with tiny non-dairy chocolates. We put Wyatt on a timer, and when he's successfully gotten through all his timers, he gets a small little square of chocolate. So the way we might adjust that for learning is when he's done his schoolwork, which everything's online now, when he successfully completed his schoolwork, we would give him that little thing of chocolate, which is highly motivating for my son. So whatever you can think of that is highly motivating, be it an activity, sometimes people don't like doing food rewards, but a game, a favorite toy, in the case of a 6-year-old, I would use that at the end of a successful session of learning.
One of my favorite doctors, BCBA's PhD, shared with me what she does with her children. She decided when her kids were little, she thought about it and she was like, how am I going to make doing schoolwork reinforcing? Because she said, I just didn't want to have the battle.
Right.
And so when her kids were little, and I count 6 as little, right? What she did was she loved Kool-Aid as a kid. Her kids hadn't had Kool-Aid. They'd never had Kool-Aid. And and even if your kid has had Kool-Aid before, this is easy to do because every day is a new opportunity. And she bought a pitcher that was like a clear pitcher. It could be the Kool-Aid pitcher or another one, but she bought a clear pitcher and she bought Kool-Aid. And Kool-Aid, if you add your own sugar, is like 10 cents a package. I'm not saying that it's necessarily good for you. This is not a commercial for Kool-Aid. But if what you want is for your kid to do your schoolwork, I'm telling you, she did this and it worked like a charm. Every day that her kids would come home from school, she would have that pitcher of Kool-Aid and it would sit on the dining room table where they sat to do their homework. And while they were sitting there doing their homework and working, you couldn't just be sitting at the table, you had to be working, you could drink Kool-Aid. And you could drink as much Kool-Aid as you wanted. She only made one pitcher, and when the pitcher was gone, the pitcher was gone. But you could have as much Kool-Aid as you wanted. And she never, ever, ever gave Kool-Aid any other time than during homework. And her kids, who are now older, they come home, take the backpack off, and they are at the table and do their homework, drink their Kool-Aid, and they are happy.
Great. Now, so that's great. That's a positive reward system that works for her. And we can think of those things. And like I said, it doesn't have to be food. It can be a favorite toy.
And it doesn't have to be Kool-Aid. It could be anything, but it's got to be something that's really reinforcing is the key. And it can't just, in her case, she had an assumption. I liked Kool-Aid when I was a kid, so I think my kids will like it. Now, if she had done it and it didn't work, then it was because not because it doesn't work, but because the Kool-Aid wasn't reinforcing enough to her kids. It turned out, sugar water for her kids was, because that's what it is. It's colored sugar water. I would tell you that if you have a kid who is sensitive to artificial food colors or sugar, don't use Kool-Aid, but use something else. But whatever you use, don't use it for anything else. If it's actually working to get your kid to the table to do the thing, don't go, oh, well, now I'll use it for bath time too. Don't do that. Keep it special for that one thing. A lot of times parents make the mistake of saying, oh, well, I'm going to do iPad time as the reward for the homework. But then that gets muddy because you're going to end up using the iPad time for other things. Pick something that it's just for that thing. And that can be a really exciting thing. Okay, so the person who was writing in about the mask says he won't wear a mask. He isn't understanding. Okay, we already talked about that. Oh, why favorite places are closed and is partial verbal. What you were recommending to encourage wearing a mask. I did address his feelings. He is truly heartbroken. Just needs suggestion to help understand that his favorite might be open soon. And that he will be required to wear a mask. Well, your dining room table in your living room can become all kinds of things. It can become the waiting room at a doctor's office. It can become, the TSA screening place where you practice doing that. And so maybe, I don't know for his level of patience, but maybe if you make a calendar and say, we're hoping that on this day, the restaurant will be reopened, but they're only going to let us come in with a mask. So we have to practice. And then make your living room or your dining room the restaurant and serve similar things to what you serve there, and start by, like she said, having the mask hang on one ear, and then start wearing it for just, because when you sit down at a restaurant, you only have to have the mask on when you come in, and then they're allowing you to take it off, because otherwise how can you eat? But just have him practicing those little increments in your house. Will that work? And I'm waiting to see if she writes us back to tell us. So Nancy, I got to ask you, and I did write to the Sorias and say, can you join us now? But I'm not seeing them join, so I don't know what's happening. But Nancy, Sunday is Mother's Day. Mother's Day. And so I'm saying happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy
and
Mother's Day to you too, Shannon.
It's a weird Mother's Day.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's going to brunch.
No, it's going to be very different from our Mother's Day of times past.
So do you have any plans?
Well, my brother and his wife are going to come over and do social distancing. They'll be safe with us. And Wyatt has been apparently working on some things when I'm not out in the kitchen living room area with him. I know there's some surprises planned that I have a feeling involve some sort of art project. So I know he's preparing some special things, and we'll probably cook a special meal. I got a great recipe for non-dairy gluten-free eggplant parmesan that I'm waiting to try. I did a cauliflower casserole that was gluten-free, dairy-free. We should do a show sharing some recipes soon, because
we absolutely should do that.
Yeah, I know you have many recipes that are gluten-free, dairy-free.
Yeah, well, you know, ever since we had Anita on a week ago,
right,
I have been vegan.
You've been vegan? Congratulations. I'm impressed.
Can't you tell in my skin? My skin feels better.
You look great.
Well, I don't look great, but my skin feels better, which is a good thing. It's been interesting. And I've allowed myself to be a little transitional this week in terms of not, you know, I'm 100% vegan. It hasn't been that, but you know, when she broke the news to me last week that I couldn't use most of the vegan cheese, that's when I was like, what?
Right.
So I have allowed myself some vegan cheese because I bought all this stuff and I'm not like her. I can't just throw it away. So I have had some vegan cheese. So in that respect, I haven't been 100% in terms of what Anita had asked for. And I have seen my blood sugar go down a little bit. It needs to go down a lot more. So we'll see how that goes. What's interesting is that in an effort to, you know, one of my favorite things about this isolation, the great isolation, as we're calling it, is that my family and I almost never sit down to eat a meal together. Almost never in the time, you know, because nobody's like the same three people aren't home, but we also eat three different things. So a lot of times I'll cook for my son and my husband is either not home or he eats at a different time, or he's eating at the same time as us, but he's eating something else because he's not gluten-free. He eats red meat. I don't do that. So when we started with the isolation and all of us were home every night at the same time for dinner, I started just making these big dishes and my husband started eating them. So we were all eating the same thing every night for dinner, which was crazy. And when I went vegan, I was like, oh no, that's going to mess with that. And then I went, you know what, let's make it not mess with it. And I told the boys, I said, you can eat as much meat as you want that's reasonable, right, for breakfast and lunch, but every night we're going to have a vegan dinner together. And everybody just has to be, you know, prepared for that. And we're all going to sit down and have a vegan dinner together. That's been interesting. We did make, by the way, there was a recipe that Anita had given me that's in her book, that's carrot hot dogs. You take carrots and you marinate them for over 24 hours, and then you grill them, and they look just like hot dogs. And you put them in the bun and you put all the fixings on top of them, but they're carrot hot dogs. So we had to get all the ingredients because, you know, we had to have the gluten-free buns, we had to have the gluten-free soy sauce, we had to have the organic carrots, right? And just to get all three things. Hot dogs the other night. And so it was amazing to me because guess who loved them and guess who was like, not who I would think. My husband, who will not eat a vegetable on his own, I don't think has ever eaten a vegetable where he was like, I know, I'm going to eat or order a vegetable. I don't think that's ever happened in his life. He loved them. He thought they were great. He was like, these are fabulous. Right. These are wonderful. Jem was like, you know, Jem ate them, but he didn't, you know, come back for seconds. Jim came back for seconds on the carrot hot dogs. That's pretty amazing. Jem, it like reminded him how much he loves hot dogs and he hadn't had hot dogs in a while. So then the next day for lunch, he had regular hot dogs.
Real hot dogs.
Because Jem doesn't eat hot dogs a lot.
Right.
So, you know, I don't think hot dogs are necessarily his favorite thing. So he was like, the carrot hot dogs were okay. But then he ate and we don't, I guess we do occasionally have beef hot dogs, but usually we have chicken or turkey hot dogs. But he ate hot dogs the next day, real hot dogs. But mostly the dishes have been really good. Not only have they been vegan, they've been oil-free.
Right. I know she doesn't use oils. So that would be a challenge for me because olive oil and almond oil are a staple at my house. So I don't know how I would adjust to that.
Oh, mine too. And I'm discovering that, you know, part of the reason, you know, the lion's share of the calories that I eat are olive oil.
Right.
Like that is my biggest calorie thing, and it's my biggest source of fat. So that's been interesting, but I found that it's really not hard and it really doesn't take away from the flavor. I'm trying to think what all we had. One of the things that we had the other night were enchiladas. They were
vegan enchiladas?
Vegan enchiladas.
How did you make those?
So we made a tofu. It was not eggs. It was onions and tofu and these wonderful peppers that I'm getting from my imperfect produce delivery that are really mild and sweet. And I'm trying to think what else. I think there was some zucchini in the mix too. And then a green enchilada sauce that was completely vegan and had no oil in it. And then rolled it in the corn tortillas and baked it with more enchilada sauce on the top. It was really good. Oh, beans. Beans were the other things that were in it. It was tofu and black beans.
Right.
And we did it with a green enchilada sauce. I don't know how it would be with a red, but I would guess really good. But it was really good. It was really good. We put a little bit of the vegan cheese on the top. But that was pretty good. I've made pad thai, vegan pad thai. They loved that. And we had like a goulash. I've been giving them a lot of noodles and things along with it. And I'm slowly rolling back on that so that it'll be less carb.
Right.
But everybody is eating well. My husband has not keeled over and has not run screaming from the building.
It's amazing how you can adjust. You know, Wyatt's on the keto diet.
Right.
Which is very helpful, they say, for seizures, and he has epilepsy. In fact, we went to his neurologist last week, and they've suggested doing another MRI and another CAT scan for him just to see where his epilepsy stands. But for those of you that have kids with epilepsy or that have had seizures, I highly recommend the keto diet. It seems to be helping. I mean, he hasn't had any seizures since he's only had 2 in his life. But once you have more than one, they consider you an epileptic, I suppose. So he's still on seizure medication, but they're talking about weaning him off of that. But the keto diet has been really good for him. He's lost 25 pounds total.
He looks like and it was right when he like had a growth spurt too. And
right.
And he used to have such a baby face.
Right.
Why had a baby face for so long? And then all at the same time, when you did the keto, he lost the 25 pounds, he gained a few inches, and he just all of a sudden became this tall, skinny young man.
Right. Right.
It's crazy how the change.
I know.
Yeah. He just looks like a totally different, he looks like a young man now.
Yeah.
All the boy, not fat, but all the boy padding is gone.
Baby fat. Yeah.
Yeah. The baby fat. It's all gone. Anyway, we are like about to be out of time here, but
tell us what you've got coming on next week, Shannon. Do you have any idea?
Well, I know that on Tuesday we have an amazing guest that was recommended to us by Eustacia Cutler, and she's going to be talking with us about a program that her university in Michigan, I think it's Michigan University, a program that they do that has young people on the spectrum come in and they partner with them. They have this massive program that's very stringent, but it gives them support so that they can do college successfully. They've had great luck with helping people to get through college and get through all parts of it, the living, the educational part, and the social part of college. So I'm very excited to talk with her about that. And Eustacia Cutler was like, you've got to have this woman on because she's the one who's getting it done for college. Any of you who have college age, or if you're college age and found that it was difficult, you gotta be here to talk about that. And then I know that we have Dr. Grampiche on, and we have a very full week. I know that we're going to be talking with somebody in Australia about a program, a physical fitness program that they've designed for people on the autism spectrum. And of course, I can't think what else, but I will tell you that Thursday night, we're about to unveil today that a week from last night, Thursday night, we're going to be doing a special town hall. And Bonnie Yates will be our special guest. And the topic is the state of special education. So much has happened in the last 2 weeks about special education and what the expectations are. Betsy DeVos was given the ability in that whole big push through the stimulus package. She was given the right to put some special education, to decide what was going to happen with COVID and all this stuff that people have missed. And apparently she's come down with 2 very specific things. Be very interesting. I can't wait to hear Bonnie talk about what is happening and what is going to happen as a result of what Betsy DeVos said. So it's all up to the minute, right? So that'll be Thursday night, and we'll be telling you guys all about that as it gets closer.
Okay, great. Looking
and
forward
to interactive. It'll be interactive. People will be able to ask Bonnie questions in real time. So that's next week. And my next door
neighbor.
Looks
like we're out of time. Looks like we're out of time.
We're way out of time, but a happy Mother's Day to everybody. Sending you
happy Mother's Day.
And I will talk to you soon, Nancy.
All
and
right,
for all
Shannon.
of you, back on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.